What's going on? What's going on? What's the haps? What's the haps? What's going on, family? How you doing?
Hey, yo, what's good? You can hear me? Loud and clear?
Yes, sir. Loud and clear, loud and clear. We just waiting on our other brother from another mother. Let's see. Let's check in with him real quick.
All right.
Let's see what's going on. How's your week been?
Better than last week, man. How about yours?
Hey, I guess every week should be better than the last week, right? Mine was pretty good. It's pretty good. What's going on, family?
Peace, brothers. How y'all doing, man?
Hey,
Good morning.
I'm fantastic. Good morning.
Awesome. I am still having that same problem on my end. I hope everything's good on y'all end.
Right now, you loud and clear, and it's all good. Just asking everybody how their week was.
Yes, sir. Mine was good. Busy as usual, but loving it.
Yeah.
What can I say? It's a lot going on. Definitely with the banks here in Louisville. I don't know about other cities, but been having some credit card theft.
Really?
Got hit a couple of times in my account. Had to get it cleared out, but I was in line with several people who had the same thing done. So anyway, you buy on your credit card.
It seems like it's that time of year. I mean, I got a vehicle break-in, which is interesting because live in a decent area. Been here for almost a year and no issues like that. But all of a sudden, and then I found out that multiple people, not just in this neighborhood, but multiple people in other surrounding neighborhoods, all got hit the same night to morning. So it's interesting. It's that time of year. People are doing what they do, and I just look at it and I say, you know what? It is what it is. I'll get it all back 1,000-fold, 70 times 70 for Pierre there. So it's all good, man. Y'all ready to rock this show?
Man, let's roll.
All right. Folks, it is December 17th, 2022. It is literally the only December 17th, 2022 that you will ever get. It is, once again, Saturday, and you are watching the Tipping Point Show with yours truly, Mr. Just As Joe, Pierre the Godson, and John Yah Esoteric Concepts.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yah. You ready? Streaming live all over social media and on your favorite music and podcast streaming platforms.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Also, check out thetippingpointshow.com. The Tipping Point Show.
I don't even know what's going on. Oh my god. Are you guys kidding me?
All right, folks, first up to the stage right here on the Tipping Point Morning Show is our other brother from another mother, brother Crypto Kenny, with your 5 minute crypto wrap up. He's watching the clock himself, folks. He's got it sitting right beside him, and he's looking at it, and he's like, hey, I got 5 minutes to inform them of some good-ish. Brother, welcome to the show, as usual. How you doing?
I'm doing well. I appreciate you guys. I appreciate the energy. I appreciate the show. I appreciate the camaraderie and the education that you guys provide. It's powerful to start in the morning. So let me go right into it because the clock is started. But one thing I wanted to talk to everybody about, today, while everything is happening in crypto, there's a lot of fear that's happening, with Sam Bankman freed or fraud. I call him
Fraud.
Sam Bankman fraud from the FTX scandal. That's caused a lot of doubt and fear in the crypto world, in the crypto community. And so I wanted to just, speak about that. Human beings cause fraud. Crypto is designed so that, it takes away the middleman, so that it's peer-to-peer, and you don't have to worry about human beings interfering and then manipulating it in a way where, it's not beneficial for all. So that's why the education comes into play, because everything that you're seeing that's been happening with crypto in the last few weeks, these are all things that have been done from a human being perspective, not a crypto perspective. Crypto itself, from the technology, what it's the resources that it provides, the ability, the use cases, the things that crypto does allow the average person to do. These things are, it's not crypto's fault that these things are happening. When it comes to FTX and the entire scandal, whenever I think about those things, I just think that whenever the government identifies something as being a legitimate resource for people to grow from, they are going to do everything and everything they can to stop that. That's just the way the world works. So I think that, more and more that, when people create doubt because of crypto, because of these situations that have been occurring, it makes me realize that, crypto must be the future. And not only that, you're still seeing banks, you're still seeing credit card companies, you're still seeing, financial institutions, major hedge funds start putting, big percentages of their portfolio in crypto. I've been working with several projects on different blockchains that still are creating passive income. So it's not necessarily crypto that's the cause of the fear. It's really human beings inserting themselves, becoming greedy, and manipulating the system that they've created. So when you hear things that people say, when it deals with crypto, like, it's not, if you don't have the keys, you don't have the cheese, right? If it's not your keys, it's not your cheese. That basically means that you shouldn't keep a lot of your big money on any one exchange, any one source. You got to understand the difference between centralized and decentralized platforms. Centralized platforms are ones that are communicating with the government. Decentralized platforms, they're not. That's Web3. You can actually partake in them and not have to worry about identifying yourself. And I think that was the point of crypto, to become anonymous. And the government and a lot of people behind the scenes have pushed for ways to make it more known who is the person behind the investing. And that's when it becomes shaky. And that's when you're seeing all of these fraud things happen. That's when you're seeing manipulation occurring. So I wanted to just encourage people that, listen to this show, have following Bitcoin Campus, that really have been following crypto as a whole, to understand that what you're seeing with all of these, companies going down, so on and so forth, that's not crypto. That's just fraud that's happening from man, right? Bitcoin itself cannot be manipulated, right? The main blockchain cannot be manipulated. So all of these other projects that are, a little faulty, that, eventually are coming up and then they're filing bankruptcy and going under, it's because they're trying to duplicate a process that mimics Bitcoin. So once you understand all of those things, once you start learning all of those things, you start being able to invest a little bit wiser. You hear a lot of times people being really stressed out because they lost all of their money in an exchange, or all of their money in a business opportunity or some sort of investment. And if that's the case, they weren't really educating themselves. You're not supposed to put all of your eggs in one basket. You've heard that saying before. So don't put all your eggs in one basket. Don't invest more than you can afford to lose. Continue to educate yourself. as soon as you make money in a project, find a way to circulate it. You know, that's not just, you know, dealing with crypto, that's dealing with any type of aspect of life. You know, once you start getting those residual gains, take that money and find a way to put it in a place where it's going to continue to grow for you. Those are the things that we share at Bitcoin Campus. Coming into the new year, we're going to be fine tuning a lot of the things that we've already been doing. We reevaluate, we see what we've done really well. We see things that we don't need to do as much. And we're going to make the product and the services a lot more accessible for everybody, right? And we have some projects that are coming out that are absolutely exciting. And
if you want to be a part of any of those projects, right, then they really just need to go hit up thetippingpointshow.com, click on the partners link, and they need to, as the godson would say, get violent on pressing this button right here when you see the Tipping Point Show Bitcoin Campus logo. Get violent on that, press that button, and go ahead and join, because guess what? You get to join for half the price. And there's nothing but plethora of information. I know plenty of millionaires that talk about how they've spent hundreds of thousands of dollars on learning things. Folks, learning things. And you got people that won't pay $5 to pick up a book. Folks, this is a situation where you actually get a group of people that are there to help you move along. So with that being said, Brother Crypto Kenny, we always appreciate you here at the Tipping Point Morning Show family. Until next week.
Appreciate you guys too. Till next week, fellas.
Peace, brother.
All right, folks. That is some good stuff right there. And that was from Crypto Kenny with the Bitcoin Campus Crypto Wrap-Up right here on the Tipping Point Morning Show. Next up to the stage, we got Brother Leonard Walker with the Stock Spotlight. Brother Leonard, how you doing there, family?
It's all good. It's all good, baby. You know the deal.
Hey, he brought the swagger with him. That's what I'm talking about. Hey.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Absolutely. So I got a stock for you today. Like I said, is the market was up a little bit this week. And then Thursday, it just all fell all down. Everybody just did a big sell-off. So everything kind of went back, went back down again. So, and that's kind of becoming commonplace in the market here a little bit, where we're starting to see things going, from here to there and down market. So, but I got one for you that you guys may not be familiar with, but I guarantee you're familiar with these brands. And that is VF Corporation. VF Corporation. Ticker symbol is VFC. Traded on the New York Stock Exchange. The price per share right now is, as usual, I'm under $50. This is $26.37. The dividend per share per year is $2.04. It pays a quarterly dividend of 51 cents per quarter, and the dividend yield is is 7.74%. 52-week high was $76.61, and the 52-week low was $25.99. So you're catching this stock while it's at its low point. Okay, while it's down, if you decide to go ahead and buy that. A quick profile on this company. VF Corporation is an apparel, footwear, outdoor wear, activewear, luggage, and backpack manufacturing company whose brands include North Face, Vans, Supreme, Eastpak Luggage, JanSport Backpacks, Dickies, and let's wait for it, Timberland. That's right. Those Tims that you're wearing, those are brought to you by VF Corporation. Same thing with those Dickies if you wear Dickies. Same thing with them Vans. Same thing with that JanSport backpack you get for school. All that comes from VF Corporation. So once again, we got a company here had to say she finna buy. Once again, we got a company here that that we're familiar with, and that we know some familiar products that we're touching almost every day, or at least at least every month or every year or somewhat. So we got from familiarity. This company has a 33 year dividend streak. It just took a dip in 2019. It would have been a dividend aristocrat had it not took that dip in 2019 on its dividends, and it's been paying dividends since 1990. Company's been around since 1889. All right, so yeah, this is somebody. So like I said, I see we got some concern about the market, and you should be concerned. But again, as I always say, where there's fear, let there be greed. This is the time when people become, when you can set yourself up nice, right? Especially young people. So that's my piece.
Got you, man. Hey, bro, that was a strong one right there, because you came with something that people, when it comes to those brands, people are very familiar with. So that's some good ish right there. Brother Leonard Walker with the Stock Spotlight family. We appreciate you every week. We'll see you next week. Peace, brother.
Peace.
Peace.
All right. So, folks, we got our next segment right here with Miss Lady Brazilianaire, Heather Weatherspoon, up to the stage to enlighten us with some more financing in 5 minutes information. Our sister from another mister. What's going on, family?
Good morning, King. How are you?
All right.
We are good.
Good morning.
We are good.
So last week you caught me from San Diego, California. This week it is my birthday. I am here back home and I'm in my office working. Yay. Anyhow.
Well, happy birthday to you, first and foremost.
Thank you.
Hey, excuse me for a second. Before we get started, I'm hearing music. Can we kill that music in the back? Can y'all hear that music?
A little bit.
Yeah. It's all good.
Okay.
All right. So today, my financing tip, being that it's the holidays, and what do parents do? They go above and beyond, and grandparents too, go above and beyond for their kids, grandkids, nieces and nephews and everything. So my financing tip for you today is don't spend more than you are bringing in. Now, it's okay if you want to get a gift card, or if you want to get a toy or an outfit, that's fine. But remember, you still have bills to pay. Bills do not stop. Even when you are long gone from us, you still have bills. So my tip for you today and for the rest of the week is don't spend more than you are bringing in. Remember, you should always know your numbers, whether you have a business or not. Know your numbers and stick to your budget. That's all for today. Bye.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Good stuff. And I'm gonna tag on that a bit and just say one of the easiest things you can do, folks. You ain't gotta go out and get nobody right away. You ain't gotta go out and spend nobody to hire somebody right away. Just take a piece of paper and start writing stuff down. That's like the easiest thing in the world to do, is just take a piece of paper, write your bills down, write your income down. And really, when you start doing that and you start correlating what you're spending versus what's coming in, woo, that right there can be your first change right there. Which
is Heather still back in the back room?
Yes, she's still.
Ask her if she's interested. If she could ride with us on this subject, this would be a great subject for her.
Okay.
You got time?
Yeah, go ahead. I got 30 minutes. Go ahead.
All right. If we're going to be talking about the first part, I guess the financial part, I would like to hear her opinion as we go into this about the financial market that we're getting ready to talk about. Is that cool?
Absolutely.
Yay.
That'll work.
Okay.
So let's jump to commercial real quick, folks, and then we'll be right back as we get into this whole topic of a look back at who was right and who was wrong about Corona the Corona, the drink or whatever, and the financial collapse. Should we all be concerned? So we're going to be talking about that right here on the Tipping Point Show when we get back. Don't go nowhere. We'll be right back. I promise you, right back, folks. Don't go nowhere.
Hey folks, check out healthdaddywow.net. 100% plant-based herbs and supplements. Whether you're in person or online, use the word tipping for 10% off. Remember, feel better, look great, healthdaddywow.net. Remember, healthdaddywow.net.
I don't need to sit at your table. We building one. We in the process of building a table. We building a table. I don't gotta sit at your table. I'm building my own table, and I will build you a table in the presence of your enemies.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. You ready? Streaming live all over social media and on your favorite music and podcast streaming platforms.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Also, check out thetippingpointshow.com. The Tipping Point Show.
I don't even know what's going on. Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you guys kidding me?
All right, folks are back, and again, we're bringing the conversation about this thing that we've been hearing about called a financial collapse. And the question is, should we all be concerned? So, with that being said, we're also going to get into the conversation about the Rona. We're going to take a look back and see who was right and who was wrong. And nonetheless, we will have this conversation, folks. And first up, I want to kind of, Pierre spits out a lot of information from his own Jack Boyce platform to his everyday social media platforms about finances, about this financial collapse and such like that. I'm hearing 4 to 6 months it's gonna get really bad is what I'm hearing, So Brother Pierre, if you can kind of enlighten us to some of the things you've been talking about this whole financial collapse, and then we'll take it from there.
Good morning, everybody. Financial collapse. You hear people talking about how it's normal, this happen all the time, and things of that nature. And to a point, they are, correct that they do occur over time. We could find financial collapses occurring throughout the Bible. Actually, it's funny, in my economic studies, I learned that the Bible has, a lot of stories about financial collapses actually occurring. In Leviticus chapter 25, it talks about the Jubilee. I don't know if you guys ever heard about the year of Jubilee. But in the Bible, in the scriptures, every 50 years there's a great reset in the Jewish custom and the culture and the history, actually. And the Bible actually tells you, it gives them instructions on how to deal with it. You have 49 years to build your wealth. And those who have actually built their wealth, it tells you you're going to make your most profits in those first years. So your biggest profits come in the first year because you have a beginning of a new credit cycle. And so you're going to get more money in those first years. And then as you get closer to year 49, those who are in debt are not going to be able to pay their debts. There's going to be a lot of people that's not going to be able to pay their debts. So the Bible tells the Jews to forgive those who, are not able to pay their debts. It also tells them to keep the land in the family and everything like that. If any of your brothers sold themselves into slavery, those who have actually accumulated savings, you're supposed to take their money and buy their land back and buy them out of slavery, actually. So this is actually in the Bible. Um, and then year 49, and it's called the year of Jubilee because it's the Sabbath of all Sabbaths. Everybody knows, in the Hebrew culture, the Sabbath, the Shabbat is the seventh day of the week. So this is the seventh day, seventh year. It's the seventh of sevens, and this occur in cycles. And then in the 50th year, basically there has to be a reset of the whole system. And so, I'm telling you this is because I learned this from the financial gurus like Ray Dalio, right? And then you have Klaus Schwab, this guy here, who they talk about with the Great Reset. All these guys are familiar with this. That's what I'm telling you. These economists, they know about this structure and they're trying to bring it about. So the Great Reset, this guy wrote this book and published it maybe like 4 or 5 months after the Rona was in full blown. So it looks like to me he probably already had this written. So his name is Klaus Schwab, and why he's important because this guy runs the World Economic Forum, WEF. You'll see if you're watching Bloomberg or any financial news things, you need to be familiar with these. The World Economic Forum consists of like all the leaders of the countries and those who are high in finance, and they come together and talk about how they're going to steer the world, how they're going to create this new world. They have these meetings, every year. So anyway, so talking about that, it's not a conspiracy, by the way. It's not a conspiracy. It's something that actually happens. The World Economic Forum occurs, so make sure you check that out. Um, but basically, what we have a government that intervenes into the economy, into the free market, and the government creates booms and busts. Okay, it's not that they're like just naturally occurring. It's because their intervention in the system creates booms and busts. And the problem that I have with this is that when they do this, they actually pick winners and losers. And they actually did a report some years ago, and I had posted this on Wall Street Jet Boys a long time ago, about how Congress is asking them about how to deal with this. So they did this report, and the report was saying how they actually create these things, but they can't control it, right? They can't control how the money enters the system, right? They can't control people. And so they have some controlling aspects of it, but some things they cannot control. Like right now, we're seeing inflation out of control. Okay. And so first you have to deal with a couple of different concepts here before we can get into the financial crisis. And so basically, let me start off with this. The Federal Reserve, its mandate is to have a healthy level of unemployment and a healthy level of inflation. That's their job, is to keep inflation intact and to keep unemployment intact, right? And they have these numbers that they specify that signifies a healthy level, a healthy economy, right? So unemployment rate, they want to keep the unemployment rate at a low level, meaning that you don't want unemployment to get too high. The reason why they don't want unemployment to get too high is because they know from history that this is the ingredients for revolutions. Revolutions break out. The people get crazy and start tearing up everything if they don't have no work. And plus the economy needs people working, right? You need productivity. The cure to inflation itself is productivity. We can talk about that a little later. But so that's one of their mandates. The other mandate is inflation, keeping a healthy level of inflation. Now they measure inflation through this metric called the CPI, right? Some of us in the financial world call it the CPI, right? So you got to be careful with numbers, okay? Numbers don't mean nothing. These things are just, the numbers can mean anything that they want them to mean, right? I know we put a lot of value in these numbers, but they really don't mean as much, and they can be manipulated when you're dealing with terms of the economy, because the economy is not like a science project. It's not like in a bubble. It's not in a controlled environment. You're dealing with humans and human nature, human action. That's something that they can't really control. Okay. And so in science, when they're doing science projects, they like to do control experience where they take all elements out and they can isolate things to see how it actually works. So you can't do that in the real economy. So they have theories about these things, like the theory of money and credit, where they try to isolate it and try to figure it out. But you're dealing with humans, so there's no way for anybody to know how humans are going to act, because humans can act rational and humans can also act irrational. Nobody knows, right? And so that's why there's a risk in the market.
Yeah, isn't that what, like, isn't the media one of those aspects, those controlling aspects? that is used when it comes to corralling humans to do certain things and act certain ways?
It's manipulative, but the action must be the actor themselves. When I say actor, I mean the individuals themselves
Hmm.
must act. So what the media can do is perform Inception. You ever see the movie Inception with Leonardo
Hmm.
DiCaprio? It's one of my favorite movies, right? It's when they insert a thought in your brain and it grows. It's like a seed that manifests itself. So they can plant the seed, but then they don't take the blame because the action is yours alone. They just plant the seed. So it's important for you to guard your brain, guard what you see, guard what you hear. The Bible tells you that as well. Guard what you hear and guard what you see, because it's all very manipulative. So yes, it's very manipulative, but it's still your action alone. So with the inflation situation, the healthy level that they have with the CPI is a 2%. Just so you know, they want to keep inflation at 2%. They think that that's a healthy level of inflation. Now, to give you some context, um, up until now, inflation has been trailing under 2% for decades. Okay, under 2%. They have not been able to hit the 2% target according to the CPI. Now, the CPI is just a measure of a basket of goods that don't even relate to each other. It's like fuel, food, shelter, all kind of different things, and they like put it together and create this index. Okay, and so they changed the CPI in the 70s. We dealt with high inflation in the 70s, like we're dealing with now, uh, but they changed how they measure the CPI. And if we measure the CPI the way we measured back then, we'll be seeing double-digit inflation. But because they changed this basket to understate inflation, and they wanted to do that so that they can continue to inflate. Okay, so you can inflate as long as you don't hit that 2% threshold. So they changed this basket so that it understates inflation, and so therefore it allows the government to create more inflation unnoticed, because again, you put so much value in this number, it doesn't mean anything. Okay, so anyhow, the inflation level as we speak right now is at 7.1%. We just got the CPI readings this past week. 7.1%. Okay. So 2% was the threshold. We're at 7%. Okay. Now, the problem is that you have a you have a max employment level, right? So meaning that the maximum people that can get hired has already been hired. Okay. Now, inflation is really high, extremely high, way above its target. It hasn't been this high in forever. Okay, so we're dealing with something that's really serious, and so that's why I say I don't want to take this lightly and say, oh, this is just like every other situation. That's what people do. They get comfortable, say, oh, the Fed, the government, they fix it this time, they fix it that time. No, that's why the economists they could tell you, they letting you know, and that's what I study, right? So anyhow, to get this inflation down. Okay, and this is what they talk about when the feds before when the Rona hit. It allowed, when I say it allowed, meaning that the people allowed the government to do all of this fiscal irresponsible things that it's doing now, and so we're dealing with inflation that occurred 2 years ago. This is how long it takes for it to seep out into the marketplace. All right. So you can't really time the markets. And I've written about this and I've talked about it a lot, but I don't know how long it's going to take for it to come out into fruition. But I know that the genesis of it started, so therefore I know what the end game is going to be. So you say, what is inflation itself? Well, inflation is an expansion of the money supply. Okay, the amount of money that's in the system, and credit works just like money. Okay, you have to understand credit spends just like money. So the amount of money that's expanding in the society is in itself the true definition of inflation. Now, that's another thing that the government does is they try to change definitions of things. But there cannot be an expansion, it cannot be inflation without new money being put into the system or expanded into the system, right? And so they talk about prices increases as inflation. Well, prices increasing is a symptom of the inflation, okay? The money has to get into the system before it can expand. Now, what if everybody held on to their stimulus checks? There wouldn't be no inflation. So that money has to get spent into the marketplace. And what occurs is that there's supply and demand. Okay, there's more supply of money that's chasing fewer goods and services. You have to think about it. You have goods and services that's already here, and then there's this new extra money that's coming into the system that people are getting. And when people get money, it's a psychological phenomenon. When people get money that they didn't, work for, they're going to spend it. This is just what we know. So when they got that new money, it gets spent into the system, which bids the prices of things up because the amount of goods didn't change. It's not like the government can't print goods and services. The government can print money, but it can't print goods and services. So you have the same amount of goods and services before the new money was created. Now the new money is created, and that new money is competing. So you have more dollars chasing fewer goods, which bids the prices of things up. So that's why I say when they talk about inflation, they're talking about the symptoms of inflation, which the prices of things go up. And when inflation gets too high, that also is a recipe for revolutions, meaning that, this is a lot of turmoil, countries just go crazy, wars break out and everything. Okay. And so I believe that what we're actually on the precipice of is a archetype that's similar to the Great Depression in the 1930s. Okay. And the Great Depression of the 1930s, if you haven't done your homework or study, this is not like, any other recession that you've seen. I'm talking about a depression, and none of us have actually been alive to actually see a depression. So you have a lot of people, even people that's rich. I know a lot of people like to look at rich people and try to get, wisdom, but not even these people have been through this. I saw Warren Buffett was describing this because his dad was a stockbroker during this time and he lost his job and everything. And Warren Buffett was saying, and this was about a couple of years ago when he was at a shareholder meeting at Berkshire, and he was saying how, people that stayed invested in the market, it took them 20 years to break even, to come back break even because they held through. They didn't sell. I know a lot of people say, don't sell, keep your diamond hands. They didn't sell all the money that they lost. It took them 20 years just to get back even because it's a psychological phenomena that occurs in a depression. Okay, don't nobody want to touch the markets at the pain that comes through. People are afraid. So you have the financial news and the media that tries to get people back stimulated. They run all the commercials all day, crypto this and all these other things. They try to get you psychologically wired to put your money back into the system. And so these are some dangerous times here that we're actually dealing with because of the things that I just mentioned to you. The unemployment level is already maxed. They can't create no more jobs. Okay, and we're currently seeing unemployment rising, and unemployment is about to get really bad. Now, why is unemployment going to get really bad? It's because the inflation itself is too hot. And we talk about the Feds letting the genie out of the bottle, meaning that they unleashed all of this, with quantitative easing and, all the stimulus. But now they have a task to get the genie back into the bottle. And you know what they say about getting that genie back into the bottle? He ain't going out, he ain't going in without a fight. So the Fed has a fight against inflation right now. And the question is, who's going to win? Is inflation going to win or is the Fed's going to win? Now, the thing is that inflation genie is at 7.1%, and the Fed got to get this thing to 2%. They say they have a weapon, a tool to get this genie back into the bottle. Does anybody know what that weapon is? The weapon
Uh,
is interest rates. Rhetorical question, right? The weapon that they have is interest rates. So the Feds, when they created this boom for the past 2 years, this boom, what they did is they cut interest rates. Now, when they cut interest rates all the way to zero, what that means is that the cost of capital is nothing, it's free. And so the time that you want to take on debt is when the cost of servicing the debt is as low as it can get. Okay. So for those who are familiar with Obama, you remember people say, oh, we had a great economy under Obama. What you don't know is that there were 8 years of artificially suppressed interest rates at zero. If you can recall, Donald Trump was really upset because he hired Chair Powell, and he thought that Fed Chair Powell was going to keep interest rates continue at 0%. And when Powell started hiking rates in 2018, Trump threatened to fire him. He said, "No, give me them cheap rates that you was giving Obama." So people don't remember. You credit Obama for the economy, but it was the 0% interest rates. And never in history has interest rates been suppressed for 8 years. Never. You can go all the way back to the beginning. It's never been suppressed that low. When the Feds intervene, it's normally no more than 2 years top
so
consistently
so
whenever
so
they
why was
lower the
that?
interest
Like
rate.
why did we see zero interest rate for 8 years under that administration? And it's never happened before. That sounds pandemic.
It was a great financial crisis. The GFC is what they call it. It was really a depression, but they don't like to use the D word. It's it's like a profane word. They like to call it a recession. But that was actually a depression, and we had the housing market crisis that occurred at that time. Um, and so the government itself wanted to re-stimulate the economy. They needed to re-inflate the economy. Okay, so to inflate the economy, you had to suppress the interest rates to make the cost of borrowing money cheap. Now, when the cost of borrowing money is cheap, how does that impact society? See, the government doesn't hold a gun to your head and tell you to do things, but they influence you whether you know it or not. When they lowered the rate of interest, okay, this is the rate, the 0% is not the rate that you get to borrow from. This is the rate that the banks get to borrow from the banks that get to borrow from the central banks. So the banks borrow money from each other. When you go and get a loan from your bank, you go get a mortgage or a car note, they don't actually have the money, okay? They borrowed the money, okay? Now, this may not make much sense to you guys, but to make money with debt is actually when the interest rate is low, okay, it's actually the gains that you make, it multiplies far beyond
Mm-hmm.
you taking your cash. So this is why portfolio managers in Wall Street, they are the most creative and they are hounds. Once the Feds lower that interest rates, Wall Street goes berserk. And that's what Wall Street is waiting for right now. Stock market is a mess right now. Wall Street is waiting for the Feds to come in and save the day by lowering interest rates. They're waiting for this to happen again. Okay. So
So,
their
so on our
inflation.
end over here, when interest rates are lowered by the Feds, then specifically where do we see it? Like, is that the
Mhm.
time when all the car companies are out there doing all the commercials and they're saying, hey, come get this car because of this, that, and the other interest rate or whatever, or come buy this house? Is that the time when in America people go crazy and they start buying?
Yes. So how do banks make money? Well, banks make money by lending money, right?
Mm-hmm.
What are they lending? Well, you deposit money into the banks. Okay, that's how they get the money in the first place. And then they lend the money out, and then they charge fees. So fees and lending is how banks make money. If they can't lend, they're out of business. Okay, so they had to lend. The best time to lend, like I was saying, is because the bank themselves are borrowing money from another bank, who's borrowing money from another bank. When you go to apply for your mortgage, they're not using the money they're borrowing the money. Now, when the Feds lowered that interest rate, it incentivizes them to borrow money. And when they borrow money, they're incentivized to lend the money. So you see a lot of marketing. They're going to hit your inbox. They're going to send you mail in your house. Say, hey, we got really low interest rates. And when that happens, people go haywire. Not just that, but you got the housing market that goes haywire. Because guess what people can do? They can refinance their homes. Okay, so they go into refi. They can do all kind of creative things in the housing market. That's where a lot of creative crap goes down in the housing market. Which again, that's why I work in commercial real estate world. And just like in 2008, the great financial crisis, you see a lot of just craziness because people can borrow, they can extract the equity out of their home and get loans to start businesses. Okay, you can do all kind of things. This is what people are doing. So it jumpstarts the economy just for simply lowering the interest rates. And they lower the interest rates, it does something to the people. And the people, like I said, Wall Street gets creative, the people gets creative. And you can see a lot of that come out in the housing market with people who have houses, they can use that asset to leverage and get, debt. And they don't mind taking a debt because it's low, right? And we had historical low interest rates over the past 2 years. And that's why there was a housing boom like we haven't seen it forever, okay? And now the government so basically what I want to establish is that the Feds created the inflation problem that they are trying to solve now, right? Because they locked the economy down under the Rona. They locked it all down, and they shouldn't have locked it down. Okay, the government should not have locked the economy down because of the Rona. I know a lot of people say the government got to protect us. No, you have to understand the government did not need to protect anybody. The government is not protecting you now. Okay, that's immunity. You need to learn about your immune system. With Brother John Yah can help you with that. He talk about it all the time. So, but because they intervened in the system, they tore the economy up. There's no rationality to the financial system right now. It is chaos. It is just really chaos. I don't even want to watch the financial news anymore because nobody knows anything right now. We don't have equilibrium. We don't have balance. We don't have what's called price discovery. Price discovery is very important for everybody. It's important for consumers and it's important for entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs need steady prices to make financial decisions. They are economizing. They need to know how many things. And Brother John, y'all can tell you, you need to know how many things you need to buy to stock up a supply for the consumers and this, that, and third. Entrepreneurs don't really know what to do, and this causes malinvestments. When the government interferes and mess up the price system, it causes malinvestments. And so those malinvestments, on some places, it causes booms where people's like, "Oh, we're making the most money ever. Come learn this with me," and we're doing it, and they're looking like they're geniuses. And then once the interest rate goes up, man, it tears everybody. It tears them up. You people that you thought was geniuses, people you thought was this. There's a lot of people right now that are very cocky and very overconfident because they don't even understand how they made money in the first place. I'm telling you right now, a lot of people don't even understand how they're making money. It's because the government has lowered the rate of interest artificially. They're not supposed to do this, but they did. And when they do this, it outpours. Okay, we have inflation like never seen before. So now the Feds had another weapon that they need to use, and it's the same one, but it's a different bullet. Okay, there's what's called quantitative tightening. They have to raise the interest rate to get this genie back into the bottle, and he's fighting. He don't want to come out. So inflation, the way it looks to me, is that we're going to be dealing with inflation for years. Now, this is inflation that none of us have ever seen. None of us have seen this unless you were, doing business
So
in the 70s. Yeah.
So let me
But
ask you this: like, you got the Great Depression of the 1920s that lasted for 10 years, um, a decade basically. So that was a Great Depression. So what was 2008? 2009. What was that, like a little anxiety attack?
no, so the Great Depression of the 30s, the 20s was the boom. The 20s was the boom. If you guys, I guess you guys are familiar with Black Wall Street, right? The Black
Mm-hmm.
Wall Street
Yep.
occurred in the 20s. You know
Yep.
why? Because we had the Federal Reserve that was created before all of this. That was in 1913, I believe. The Federal Reserve was created then. And when they created this, they created the boom in the 20s that led to the depression of the 30s. So any and everybody, that's what I'm saying. It doesn't take a rocket scientist to make money when the government cheats the system and put, money in the system. You just got to know where to be at to be a recipient of it. Okay. Like right now, these past 2 years, if you were not in the housing market, you really didn't benefit that much, right? This year, in the past 2 years, crypto benefited greatly, stocks benefited greatly in the housing market. The housing market is the last to go, which is it's happening right now. The housing market is collapsing right now. So the housing market you have to watch. Okay, the housing market is super important. Think about this. Every house that's built, there are massive jobs that are created for each house that's being built. You have plumbers, you have carpenters, you have masons, you have tile
Painters.
guys, you got electricians, you got
Yep.
painters, you got the lawn guys, you have management. You have so many jobs that gets created off of one house being built. So when the housing market go, it is just
It hurts
crazy. Okay,
everybody.
and
Wow.
that's what's happening right now. So you had a
Wow.
lot of boom, a lot of people living in the high life over the past 2 years because all these houses being built, so many millionaires being made. So that's why I say you have to understand where the money is going to go. And until I worked in commercial real estate, where I would never have guessed this, I always knew stock market, but I didn't know this side, right? So now that I understand this side, and I'm working, managing money, and I understand like, hey, this is what's happening. But the Fed needs to get the inflation genie back into the bottle. So the Fed must do what's called quantitative tightening, which raises the interest rates. Now, when the Fed raises the interest rates, what they're doing right now, we just got a Fed hike this week, okay? And the Fed raising interest rate, it discourages people from borrowing money. They need for people to stop borrowing money right now. They're on a task to stop people from borrowing money. So to discourage you, they must raise interest rates, right? Because when they raise the interest rates, think about it. Who's going to refinance their home with higher interest rates? Ain't nobody
Let,
going
Mm-hmm.
to refinance their home in a higher interest rate environment. So that
well,
stops
correct.
a lot of activity by itself. Go ahead, brother
Joe,
John.
your question, Joe, you're asking what was going on in 2008. You're comparing the
Yeah.
recession to the Great Depression. That's two different things.
Exactly, and that was my attempt at a very bad
Oh,
joke of saying, was it just a little anxiety attack versus the Great Depression? But and then in comparison to that, then what's about to happen, or what is looking like it's about to happen, then what is that? Is that a depression? Is that a recession? Is that something that we're gonna need some meds prescribed for? Is that one an anxiety attack? What
so
is this?
so what makes it a depression is this. Unlike a recession, the government can reflate it. You can blow the bubble back up, right? They pop the bubble and they can blow the bubble back up. What's a depression? What we know that happened in the 1930s is that the government's intervention can't blow it back up. The government will continue to intervene, inflate as much. They try to inflate, but there's no economic growth. So because there's no growth, when they're doing this, it's called a depression. And the depression lasted so long because of the government's intervention. So in the 1930s, everything about America changed forever. So right now, we don't really live in like the free states of America. This is more like a socialist states of America right now. Since the 1930s, under President FDR, he created all the programs that's existing now. He created welfare. He created the welfare as we know it, and the warfare. And so the welfare, what he did, the same thing that Joe Biden and them is attempting to do now. They're going after the rich, right? FDR, he did this. He raised the taxes so crazy, and you got to understand. Before this time, there was no taxes actually. The government made money from tariffs by charging countries money to do trade with them, and so the taxes that we pay now, again, this was a temporary act that was supposed to be temporary for the pay for the war and stuff, but we got the taxes system now, and so again, this takes money from the citizens, so you have less money to take home. The cost of living, the purchasing power of the dollar. Remember, I said people don't want money; they want what money can buy. So back in those days, your money could buy a lot more. People say, "Well, they made $2 an hour." Well, that $2 an hour, it went a lot. It went a lot further than your $20 an hour. You're more poor at $20 an hour than your great great grandfathers at $2 an hour. Buying a home back then, people didn't have to get mortgages, and the mortgages that existed were 5 years and younger. So FDR created all the program. He created, the Fannie Mae program. They created the VA program to help the military guys. Again, that's the government intervention and creating winners and losers. They, what do you call provide favoritism for people that's in the military, but other people who didn't go in the military don't have access to these cheap loans, or they don't have to put no money down and all this other stuff. So again, they're creating winners and then losers because you can't participate in this. So FDR created all these programs. You got 30-year mortgages now. Remember, I told you back then, your great great granddad can buy their house in 5 years or less. The banks would not lend for anything over 5 years because the banks have a balance sheet that they must manage, and they don't want to keep your $200,000 house on their balance sheets that's tying up capital. Okay, so the government created these programs like Fannie Mae, which is a government-sponsored enterprise. It's like a phantom company. It's a government agency that acts like a corporation, that acts like a company that can intervene in the market and buy things. So a lot of lenders understand. A lot of lenders. Do you have a loan? Anybody have a mortgage? You ever heard of Fannie Mae loans, Freddie Mac loans? When they're doing your underwriting of your loans, the lenders and the banks, whoever's doing it, they're underwriting to Fannie Mae standards. Why are they underwriting to Fannie Mae standards? Because Fannie Mae, which is a government entity, government-sponsored enterprise, Fannie Mae is going to buy it off of their balance sheet. They have a for sure buyer, a guaranteed buyer. It is the government. Okay, the government is going to buy it off their balance sheet, so they're only going to write it if it adheres to Fannie Mae's guidelines. And if it does, they know that Fannie Mae is going to buy it off of their balance sheet. And they're going to get the money back. They're not going to be having your house on their balance sheet. The government is going to buy it off of their balance sheet and put it on Fannie Mae's.
Let me
Right.
let, let
And
me get
so,
somewhere.
yeah.
Let me get somewhere real quick because we're getting off track. I wanna. When you broke that down, which is great about what's going on, we talked two different levels. We're talking up here where we're talking about the wealth being shifted and what they're doing with the feds and what they're doing with inflation. What I want to ask is, Heather, how long you been in business?
I've been in business for 11 years.
11 years. In your 11 years, have you seen something that was a threat to your business? So you got this upper level where you got those who are up here, then you got those here at the bottom who still making money, but not up here where the financial market is. Is any change that you have felt that goes on that interferes with your pocket. In other words, the trigger down is what we're talking about, right?
Yep.
What do you see on your business, because you exchanging hands from person to person, correct? What do you see actually in this economy of what's going on? Is it getting better for you, or is it getting worse for you?
It's getting worse. It's
Okay.
getting and actually, I was waiting for one of you to ask me that question. I have really not shared this with anybody, but I have made a decision to shut down, close one of my offices because the like Pierre said about the borrowing, the company that owns the building, because they are going out of money, they want to raise my rent for that space. And if I have to if they raise my rent for that space, then that means domino effect. I have to raise the rent of my booth renters. Well, if I raise the rent of them, then that's taking more money from their family and their mouths, and they can't pay their bills, which means they have to go to the bank, buy a loan. But the banks, our interest rates are like 25, 26, 27%. So therefore, everybody is going into debt. It's a domino effect. So I said, no, close it.
So what would be then how will you combat that? When you see that happening, what is your move? Closing it, or is there a different strategy with that for you?
There is a different strategy. I have chosen to keep open the other two locations because they are smaller and they actually are better for my finances. So I have to then go back and rebudget all of my stuff. So therefore, I can maintain my personal life as well as the other two businesses. So I had to go back and look at all of my sheet, my numbers, and I had to figure out, okay, I can do this, I can't do this. I had to make an executive decision, which did hurt. I did cry, but I had to figure out if I want to maintain a steady level, stay above water, because I have a family too. I have to make a decision, and I had to cut that out. So I had to go back and redo my whole entire sheet.
Okay, so therefore you have saw your actually income kind of drop based
Oh,
upon
absolutely,
right.
absolutely. My income dropped. I'm gonna say about over 60%.
Wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
and yeah, when you talk about COVID, yeah, that from that day, what was that? March? No, February. Was it March or February?
Yeah,
18th.
February. Yeah.
When the governor mandated to shut us down, and I kept saying, okay, I have money in savings, because remember, Pierre, they told us you got to have at least 6 months in savings. That was then.
Right.
So now it's a whole year in savings. I said, okay, I've got this saved up. Okay, I can make it. I can make it. And when we got back into a swing, which was May 25th of 2020, it was still rocky. It was, and today it's still rocky. It's not as bad as it was, but it's still rocky.
So
Yeah. So
you
you
still
also have to understand.
recovering
Yeah.
from COVID.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
so you also have to understand that the interest rate also encourages people to save money when it's higher, and
Mm-hmm.
it discourages people from saving money when it's lower because your money that's sitting in the bank is not earning any rate of interest. It's
Right.
artificially lowered at zero. So when that occurs, it encourages people to go into debt because
Mm-hmm.
why have your money sitting in the bank earning no interest, and then inflation is eating away. So when we talk in terms of money, for you guys who don't know, when you're watching the Bloomberg, Yahoo Finance, CNN Money, whatever, they talk in terms of nominal and real rates when they talk about money. You probably don't know what that is. Quick lesson. Nominal terms is just basically the rate of whatever return you have. Say if you have a stock portfolio and you're up 7%. Okay, so 7%, they're talking in nominal terms. So when they say, well, how much are you up in real terms? They must factor that against the rate of inflation. This is how portfolio managers manage. That's how we know what we're going to buy, because we need to beat the rate of inflation. So if you have 7% of your stock market portfolio, well, that's not your real rate. That's your nominal rate. Your real rate, you must subtract the 7.1% inflation that we just got from the CPI. So then that means that you're at negative 0.1%. So you're actually not at a positive 7. That's called real rates. Nominal rates versus real rates. I just want to clarify that because a lot of people don't know what that is. But when you're doing your businesses, the key factor when you're doing your budget and stuff is factor in the rate of inflation. You must outpace the rate of inflation or you're at a negative. And this is another reason why what Crypto Kitty was talking about, the crypto boom. This is another thing that causes the crypto boom. Portfolio managers, you see people like Kevin O'Leary, who's all over the news right now, Mr. Wonderful from Shark Tank, who got his shark bit by playing in the crypto world. Well, portfolio managers, they have to outpace the rate of inflation. Now, they normally will have a bonds mix, stock mix, and bond mix, stocks and bonds, normally 60-40. But bonds have been so low, they've been trading that they're actually at a negative rate. Okay. Yeah, bonds at like 2%. Okay. And 1%, 2%. So when you factor that in against inflation, you're negative 6%, you're negative 8%. So why, from an investment portfolio position, why would you invest in bonds? If you notice now, nobody knows about bonds today. Everybody knows about stocks and crypto. But in the 80s, everybody used to talk about stocks and bonds. You hear old people talk about stocks and bonds. Why? Because the rate of interest was so high coming from the 70s, because we had double-digit inflation and the Feds had raised interest rates to combat that. So interest rates were up to 20%. So can you imagine leaving your money in the bank and making 20% risk-free? So the whole thing is you want to make money risk free, but if that doesn't exist, you want to still take the least amount of risk to make the most amount of money. And so they normally go with bonds because bonds is the risk free rate. And but that's changed over years. You can see interest has been going all the way down to zeros. Again, when you talk about 2008, it hit rock bottom at that time. And a lot of people nowadays don't know anything about bonds. Okay. But that was the importance of bonds. But when bonds now are trading at a negative rate right now, investment portfolio manager looking like, where can I put my money at? So they're willing to take the risk with crypto. And that's how crypto got a lot of money that flooded into it, because bonds are not attractive. But now that rates are going up now, you see a lot of financial news, and pay attention to this. They're going to start pumping bonds again right now because the inflation, the interest rates is higher now. So they got to make money, and they need people to give them money so they can manage the money or whatever. So they're going to be pumping bonds right now. You're going to start seeing that. Bonds are still trading at a negative rate, but all asset classes compete with each other. So you say, well, if stocks is negative, how much is stocks down? How much is crypto down, right? If these things are down 50, 30%, and bonds is down only 2% or 3%, well, bonds is now more attractive than stocks, right? Even though they're still trading at a negative. So I just want to clarify that. You can get back, brother, y'all.
Awesome. What'd you say? I'm sorry.
Oh no, I thought you had something else. I cut you off.
Yeah, and so that's why I was wanting Heather to ride with us on this subject, because of your business is on the ground. You are dealing people with hand to hand, and that's where your income. It doesn't really come from your investments in stocks or whatever. That's why I wanted to know your ground business. So when I'm talking to people about the ground business, it's very interesting. For most, I see no change. I absolutely sees no change, and it's very interesting. In my business, particular, now I'm a little different when it comes to business, as there are different levels, and no one has the exact recipe. Every business is different. Every business is uniquely designed different, whether you got a barber shop, whether you got a company like mine, or whether you're doing, everybody's business is different. Everybody's customers base is different, and the product you serve. Some of us have products that are disposable products. Some products are products that have long duration, so you don't buy it as often. And then there are some products that you will purchase that are necessity, you must have. Then there's some products are just impulse buying, right? But people who just don't have control. There are businesses and products that people are banking on people not having control of their money. Look, if you go into a store and you see stuff in the aisleway, those are impulse. Right? That means that these people here, this is for people that don't have control. Candy, I want that, mommy, give me that. The impulse aisle actually is the highest selling aisle in all the stores. Meaning that majority of the people do not have control over their spending. Number one. So there are those of us who are entrepreneurs. We seek these type of individuals in business, people who don't have control, because we know our products are not a necessity unless you have food or oil, gas, or something like that, dealing with something that you need to survive on. So in most cases, probably more than 90% of the products you see out here are non-essential. Literally, it's not something that you actually need. You don't need nails. You don't need your hair done. You know, there are certain things you just don't need. But people have the impulse to buy it regardless. I've not seen the Chinese market with the extra hair and stuff ever slack up or really go out of business just because of a recession. In fact, during my time of business, during this course, and my particular business is interesting because I really perfect what I learned about aroma, smells, entwined with memory. And one thing I've studied about how fragrances work. And I learned it so that I can understand how to lure the market in more through what? The mind. Meaning I have a fragrance that is connected to someone's memory. People buy it based on that and based upon what it does for them, whether it makes their home smell good and makes them smell good. Whatever it is you're selling, that person has got to get more value out of it than what they pay for because it makes them feel good about it. Then they come back and buy more. And during the time of business, and I've been in business now going into 22 years. I've seen it all. And this is why when they say, if you're an entrepreneur and you start a business, actually it takes 5 years for you to be in a position to where someone's looking at your business. You can sell it. You can borrow money from it. Because why? 5 years, you have went through everything it takes to survive. And out of 100 businesses starting, only 4 are going to survive 5 years. And so that tells you that you're going to see everything is going to be hitting you with during that 5 years. Increase of your products is a must. One thing I can tell you about business is this, and this will apply to everything dealing with the economy. The universe is always expanding, never going backwards to a track going down. It's always expanding. Wealth is always expanding. What you made last year, you need to be making more the next year and the next year. Never look at yourself as you should be standing still. So what I've learned in business is very interesting because my business is constantly expanding despite all the economics downfalls from early 2000 all the way. I done had Bush, I done had Obama, I done had Trump, and then I got this fool here in office. And my business is still growing. So what I notice is this, very interesting, is that when you begin to think recession, you do what? You clamp down. Fear kicks in. Oh, what am I going to do next? I've learned something over the last 5 years that really practiced during the time of the pandemic. During the time of the pandemic, they were telling essential business that was non-essentials to shut down. And I looked and I said, what the shut down? And I looked at the stores that I was supplying were still open. In fact, my business went up 3-fold. The only fear that I had was when my custom broker informed me that the ports were shutting down. So I had 2 choices, either run in fear or risk paying twice as much, over 30 grand overseas for a shipment that's going to take me 3 months to get in. So guess what I did? I ran and spent the money, knowing that I almost exalted all of my savings to get these containers in as a rush, right? And it was the best choice I made. What I've learned was when you have fear in your heart, you don't create nothing. And fear is the exact thing they want you to have to stop you from moving forward. Everywhere you look on the news, there's always fear. And if you're riding on that fear, you're not going to invest. You're not going to create a new product. You're not going to do nothing but hoard and hold on to what you have, hoping that things get better. And I think that's a crippling piece. I think from the ground level, I've seen the weed man money ain't going away. The blunt man smoking a reefer papers ain't going away. The cigarettes didn't go down during Corona and 2008 recession. Alcohol didn't go down. Liquor stores still made money, right? And I'm doing business with all these people, and I've seen their business still do the same, if not better. All prices are going up. I've taken my prices up. And have no issues. And I thought maybe that was going to hinder people from buying a product that was normally $1 on the shelf to $1.50 on the shelf. And so I've noticed that what I do is this. I've learned something that's very interesting about business. Never fear asking for what you think you're worth for your service, right? If you begin to have that fear, your business will diminish. Of course, prices are going up. And if you're in business and I come to you and I tell you my price go up and you put a frown in your face, then you ain't been in business long enough to realize that all prices go up. Every year, something's going up. Cigarettes done went up 4 times in 1 year. Pack of cigarettes went up 4 times. You hear anybody complaining? Hear anybody talking about, hey, I need to quit smoking? No. So the expansion is a must. You must look at how you can make more money. The reason that you have depression, oppression, is to learn to expand. Every time you're in a depressed situation, what does it make you do? Does it make you give up, or does it make you figure out a way out of it? This is why the universe and currency is the same thing. It must expand. You must ride with it. Raise your price up. Yeah, rent's going up over here. Rent's going up over there. You have to find yourself and fit in there. You have to raise your prices up. You can't fear saying, hey, I want more money. My bottles are costing me more. My packages are costing me more. My labels costing me more. You can't stop. So what I've learned and what I'm teaching is that the point is that don't allow the fear of what you hearing, the words out there, recession, end of the world coming, the worst you ever seen. And I remember some reading that said, we're going to have the worst recession since 2008. I said, what? That didn't bother me none. That didn't hurt me at all. And I went right through it. And same right now. They're saying what they was talking about 2 months ago is happening right now. Yes, it's happening. And I'm still seeing increases. And let me close with this. The Arabs are still opening up new stores, new smoke shops. Every day have been opened up. I'm getting new businesses. Every week, a new account opened up. Say, hey, I opened up a new store. So I'm like, what recession? Where's it at? And who's falling for it, right? Because we're listening to this big top stuff, but that trigger down, everybody's still hustling and still moving. I'm seeing the same thing on the streets. It's not changed. Going to any of these stores, they're still buying fried chicken. They still buying the reefer papers and the beer and the garbage. And the children is still asking for the impulse stuff. So I don't see the recession. But if you believe in it and you act upon it, then it will happen. And I'm just trying to point out that if you begin to push that fear, you stop moving forward. And that's what we're hearing. Most of this recession shit, it's a state of fear. And that's what it's all is doing, is putting that information in your mind. And you said something very interesting. You said about discourage. Yes, the job is to discourage you to moving forward and make you what? Worry about the recession. Oh my God. And that's when you should realize, no, that's when you need to move forward and figure that shit out. Yep, the price is raised. I need to make some more money. Yeah, my food went up. Yep, I need to make some more money. Yep, gas went up. I need to make me some more money. And that's what you got to figure out. We have what is called an 8-hour mentality in most of us. Most people who work 8 hours and do nothing else for the rest of the 8 hours when they got at least another 8 hours to try to get more money or figure out something new to happen. Instead, we're waiting for the government to fix the problem. We're waiting instead of us moving forward. So my whole piece here is that we're listening to fear mongering. The same thing we're going to talk about in this next subject about Corona. We're listening to fear-mongering, and fear-mongering make people react a certain way.
So I wanted to actually just interject here a little bit, because when we're talking about economy, we're not talking about somebody's small business. We're talking about
Correct.
the collective of everything as an entirety. This is the way the government measures things. They're not looking at one person's business, because there are thousands of businesses just like yours, and not all of them have the same results as yours. There are people that
Correct.
go out of business for whatever reason it may be. Clearly, they see that this is I have to cut off my leg to save my whole body. So just like when Heather had to shut her business down, she didn't want to, but do you just sit there and die, lose all of your businesses, or you cut the leg off cut the foot off so you can save the whole body. In this case, an entrepreneur, this is where entrepreneurs must make these executive decisions. Now, you have to understand, you have to have a healthy consumer for all businesses. You have to have a healthy consumer. The state of the consumer matters, right? It doesn't matter what you're selling. If the consumers can't afford it, can't buy it, then you're not gonna make it. And so the state of the consumer right now, what I'm saying is that the Fed's goal is to get the genie back into the bottle. Their job is to create unemployment. They are on a task to get this 7% inflation down to 2%. They need unemployment. So they're going to hike interest rates. And as they continue to hike them, unemployment is going to get out of crazy. It's already coming down right now. We see Amazon laying off 10,000 people. We see Twitter laying off thousands of people. We see Facebook laying off thousands of people. These are not blue collar jobs. These are white collar jobs. We're talking about good paying jobs, people who are making, $100,000. All these jobs are coming off. Goldman Sachs laying off 3,000 people. We're seeing the financial markets, technology, and the financial markets getting hit massively. Now, those are your consumers. Okay, they have the excess money and savings, but they're no longer going to have that. And this is going to wreak havoc into the market because the state of the consumer is going to impact. So one person's spending is another person's income, right? So when they spend money, they got to have that money to spend in order for you to make money. What I'm saying is they're not going to have that money because they're getting laid off. And when they get laid off, you said something earlier about basically, to sum it up, survival mode. Where we're coming out of thrive mode into survival mode. And yes, psychologically, you have to change your mindset into the survival mode and basically start saving for the rainy days that's coming, right? Because I believe it's going to be a flood, and you have to prepare for this thing. It's not just me. I'm talking about major economists are saying the same thing that I'm saying because of what we're seeing. Now, we don't know how people are going to act. We don't know what actions the government is going to actually take. We know what actions the government can take and what they're likely going to take. As from history tells us, they're going to inflate. So I believe there's going to be another stimulus that's going to come out. I believe there's going to be more rent controls and things like this. So the government is going to try to, appear to be the savior of the issue that it created. Again, they created the inflation. Now they must try to get it back into the bottle, and they must create havoc in order to do so. So I am seeing from all this data that I'm seeing is unemployment is about to go crazy. Okay, it's already taking place now. The numbers that they're reading now is lagging data. So when Joe Biden come out, so we got the best unemployment, boom, boom, boom. That's old data. The data that's happening right now is not going to come out until 2 months from now. Okay. And so we can see this. In fact, I made a chart and I showed you the correlation between interest rates and unemployment. And in fact, there is a like a 6 month lag actually, a 6 month lag. So the 6 month lag means that anytime there's a spike in interest rates, the unemployment rate spikes about 6 months later every single time consistently. So because they're spiking interest rates, I know there's going to be massive unemployment, and that hurts the consumer. The consumer has no money to spend, and the inflation, the problem that you have now. See, you need deflation, you need prices to come down, but the government is an inflationary institute, and they don't want prices to come down, right? When people are losing jobs, you don't need rents increasing, you don't need their cost of living increasing, and this is why this is very, very dangerous right now, is because you have a recession where prices are going up. It's an inflationary recession. This is very, very, very dangerous because they need for the prices to come down. The prices are not going down. Okay, so prices are going up. This is impacting people. Now, a funny thing is you were mentioning earlier about people buying alcohol, people buying cigarettes, and you're right. These things have strongholds on people where they will go without a meal to get a pack of cigarettes or to drink their liquor and things like that. So um these are places that people are investing right now. They're investing in Philip Morris, they're investing in the alcohol companies, Bush and all of these. They're investing in these right now because they know in a recession people are not going to give up their strongholds, right? But you have to also keep in mind, this is nothing that I'm proud of. I'm not telling you to invest into that. Invest in what you believe in. But also crime, unemployment going up, crime is going to go up. I heard you guys earlier talking about people breaking into your cars, talking about people stealing credit cards. See, people start to get crazy. Crime goes up. Investor Michael Burry, he's invested in private prisons right now. This guy sold everything in his portfolio. He runs Scion Capital, and he's invested in private prisons right now. You say, why is a guy like this investing in private prisons, right? So watch the movie The Big Short. If you haven't seen the movie The Big Short with Michael Burry, please watch The Big Short. The movie is phenomenal. This is the guy who predicted the 2008 great financial crisis, and so it's about him. And basically, after he did that movie, excuse me, after he did that thing in the Great Financial Crisis, he started investing in water. So he got out of the investment business, but then he started investing in water. And this is one of the first companies that I invested in was water, because you know what, people need water, right? And I didn't understand why he was investing in water until I did my research and I found out, oh, well, there's countries that can't grow their own food, and in order to grow food, you need water. So this is the reason why this guy is investing in water, right? So anyway, he's a great guy. He's a legend. You got to check him out. And he comes and tweet. I think he actually just deleted his Twitter account. But anyway, these are the issues that I'm seeing right now, and I just want to make people aware of all these different ingredients are ingredients for a war. Okay, and we haven't even talked about the currency collapsing. Great financial crisis, a currency crisis is underway. I don't know how long it's going to be. There are economists talking about within the next 2 to 5 years. It depends on how fast the government tries to deal with this inflation problem, meaning that they're going to try to fight this inflation war, but I don't think they're going to win. I think that the pain that's actually that's actually breaking loose right now. People are getting laid off before the holidays. You never really see people get laid off before the holidays. They try to keep it off for the longest they can, but people are getting laid off right now before the holidays, and they have to survive. So they're going to cut their spending, and retail sales are down. It doesn't matter. Retail sales overall are actually down. This is not good because a lot of companies run on debt. And when you have debt, I mean, you borrowed money, that credit, now you got this interest rate on top of it. You have to do what's called debt service coverage. You have to cover the debt from the money that you make, right? So you got this money that you made, your revenue, but you got to pay your debt. When interest rates increase, your debt payments increase. So that means you have less money for your savings as a company. You have to cover your debt. As that increases, you have less money, and businesses go out of business like this all the time. Okay, people lose houses, people lose cars because the payments, they can't afford them no more. And that's what I'm saying is this pain is going to be it's unavoidable at this point. It's going to happen because of the rate of interest, and Americans have no savings. How do people start businesses? You say people need a master gas start businesses. Well, you can't start a business without savings. And America don't have no savings. We got the lowest savings rate in history. The lowest savings rate right now, Americans overall do not have savings. Your money in the bank, everybody who got bank money, all that data gets reported to the government, and they report, and that's what I look at. Americans have no savings. So when I see Americans have no savings, my danger signs are going off, right? And I see debt levels higher than 2008, higher than the debt levels that led to 2008 great financial crisis. This is going to be a disaster. Trust and believe me. And I think we should prepare.
Here's where basically I set a mindset. I set a mindset that there is no poverty, there's only abundance. When you look at the universe, it's only in abundance. If you are looking at goods, then you're looking at limited. You're looking at things from a limited standpoint. But when you look at the universe, if you're having the view of what is the possibilities, is endless. I agree with everything you're saying from that view. However, I don't accept the lack. And I think when you're talking about people losing their jobs, guess what they got to do? They got to discover something. It ain't the end of their world because they lose their job. Millions of people have lost their jobs over the years, and they discovered something else. I've found that during the pandemic, me and Joe did a whole show on new businesses that popped up when businesses were shutting down during the riots, that what was going on here in Louisville and other cities. Businesses were shutting down, but people were adjusting and making new things happen. Me and Joe, we did a whole show on the podcast.
You know why and how?
No, I'm explaining why. What I'm trying to explain is that
why and how they were able to create those businesses during the pandemic.
No, listen, what I'm telling you. What I'm telling you is that people begin to dig deep, and they found a better self. In other words, they just didn't stay in that rut. They began to do with that. Wait a minute, can I explain? Wait a minute. Can I explain? What is there something problem here?
No, I'm just explaining how and why that occurred. We all know what occurred.
I'm explaining. I don't have to. Okay, I don't have to know why. I'm trying to explain a mindset that I'm trying to express from the fear. Yes, I'm not denying the fear. If you believe in the fear, I'm trying to, for those who are listening, to know that this ain't new. Nothing's new is under the sun. and people got by even during the Great Depression. What I'm saying is that you still have to have motivation. You still got to get up in the morning. You still got to have creativity. You cannot allow the fear to stop you from moving forward. This is how they play us. And they always been playing us this way. And I think if we change our mindset collectively as the individual first, collectively it all comes together. But you must change your fear mindset of lack to poverty, just like from being sick to healthy. And here's the thing. It is easy to think based on appearance. That's easy to do. You see some shit, yep, that's happening. It is harder to think truth despite appearance. That's the hardest thing to do. So if you can, and this is what you call a mastermind, a person who can master their mind, is to think positive beyond appearance. And that is what it takes. And so, yes, you're talking that fear. It exists. It's out there, but not for everyone. There are some of those who are able to see something and see beyond the appearance. And there's something behind it. Like your boy said, when you see people doing one thing, go the other way. This may be the time for someone to invest when stocks are going down. But there's always beyond the appearance. If you look at the appearance, the fear, you react to it because why? You don't have the ability to see beyond the appearance. Yes, it appears that it's going down. It does. It really does. But we said this during COVID, and now look where we are today. Because there were some of us who was able to see beyond the appearance. Most of us follow the appearance. What you see is what you follow. I get that. What I'm trying to teach is to have the ability to look beyond the appearance, meaning the fear. That's it.
So basically, with what I'm hearing, then we're talking about brother Yah is speaking on an individual basis. You have the ability to not indulge in this quote unquote crisis, if you will. You can dig deep, flex in your mind, and create a whole different reality for you and yourself. Now, how that comes along could be a PPP loan. How that comes along could be financing that you get in order to push your business forward or in a different direction or what have you for you, the individual. But I understand, Pierre, when you're speaking the collective and what's happening from above, but I definitely believe that every individual has the ability to create their own reality. Because I was saying this morning to myself, but I firmly believe in the idea that this world is a matrix. And I have the ability to create what I choose. And the biggest issue is the focus it takes to continue with that. That's the biggest issue for most people.
Lecrae said, not everyone is as strong mentally during a crisis.
That's right.
He's telling the truth. Right. And the reason why it's not because of imagination. It's not. It's because of their experience. When people are actually in the 1930s, none of us have ever seen.
But hold on. So you're calling mindset imagination.
well,
is that what you're saying basically?
So again, when you're talking about psychology, right? So I'm talking about the things of the mental. And what I'm saying is there are real things that occur that no matter what your mentality is, ain't gonna get you out of it because it's really occurring. It's not a figment of your imagination. So when you have people that sit in the 1930s, people were standing in bread lines. Ain't none of us standing in a bread line. We got help, Daddy on. What's up, my man? But yeah, you have people standing in bread lines, okay? That's because people are really impoverished, right? They don't know what the next meal, soup kitchens and all of that, right? That is a real thing. Now, all things in the economy are resources. Jobs are resources. Businesses are resources. Entrepreneurs are resources. Consumers are resources. There's a supply-demand dynamic, okay? So when you have all these people, most people's source of income is their job. Most people are not entrepreneurs. Some people have a job, got side business. Some people are entrepreneurs. It doesn't matter. It's all impactful. So you have this supply, this is the workers, and you have the jobs that's created. When those jobs go away, there is a supply demand arbitrage there, where there's not enough jobs to supply the people. When there's not enough jobs to supply the people, they know it. You know how they know it? Because when they're looking for jobs, they can't find the jobs. They're not available. Now, their jobs is their skill sets that they have. Now, maybe they have to learn new skills to adapt into the new world, but the imbalances are real. It's not just a mental thing. It's actually real. When they're at the unemployment line trying to find jobs and they know week over week, they know there was a time, they don't know economics, but they know there was a time when they can get a job. They lose a job, they working next week. Now all of a sudden it's 2-3 months and they can't find a job. Now
Right. So,
their
what
lifestyle
you, there's
changes.
nothing they can do about it. So therefore, the bottom line is there are victims to the system. Right.
Well, what I'm saying is that what they're experiencing is real.
Right.
And
But I'm
they
saying
can,
is they
yeah.
can't do nothing about it. But if they can't do nothing about it, then they are victims to the system. Correct.
Yes, yes, they are victims of the system
Okay.
because the
Yes.
system, the government created the mess in the first place. And the
Correct.
government should not intervene. Therefore, we will have a stable system. We have stable prices. We have a stable economy. The economy is ripping fast. We just got out of a recession, allegedly a year ago. We're going back into a recession. They normally take
Correct.
about 10, 12 years apart. Now we're seeing them, they're very volatile right now. And this, you can't really adjust. It makes it very difficult for people to survive in this world. And so what we want to see is the living standards of everyone to rise over time, right? But now living standards are actually going to drop. They're actually dropping right now. And so what I'm saying is that these things are real things. And yes, people, what I said, that the government, they know that unemployment is a major issue because it creates revolutions. Well, wars do break out. Countries get overthrown. Governments get overthrown. This is something that the government is well aware of. So they have a problem where they have an inflation problem. They need to cut. They need to raise interest rates, but then they're going to create unemployment. And they're trying to play two sides of the fence, and they can't serve two masters. You can't serve the master of putting inflation back into the bottle and
Because
then
if
keep
people
their
is
jobs out.
unemployed and if they ain't got nothing else better to do, then they might just stand up, rise up, and take back what's theirs. We can't
They're going
let
to
that
commit
happen. No,
crime. We know
sir.
that we know crime rate rises when unemployment rises. This is just something that we just know, right? Because people are hungry. When they're hungry, what are they going to do? They're going to rob something. They're going to steal something. They're going to, you know what I'm saying? Like, so that's why I say you see Michael Burry's investing in private prisons. He's expecting people to go to prison with this, what we're seeing right now. And this is a legendary investor. Okay. So I'm watching where the money goes, and that's what I'm telling you. Also, I want to mention Ray Dalio, man. This book right here called A Changing World Order. Um, he's already predicted mostly all this stuff that we're talking about, and he talks about wars, and he's saying that we're at a in a stage of war right now, and we're headed into it. So all wars is not just military war; it's economic wars before you go into gun wars, right? It's always financial wars. Right now we have Russia versus Ukraine. That's another situation, and the way Joe Biden and them continue to facilitate this war, the war could end. All that America has to do is stop funding Ukraine, and Ukraine will come to the table and make amends with Russia, and they can live their lives. We don't have nothing to do with that stuff going on over there, so we shouldn't be invested in that. But we are, and so because we are, and Joe Biden and them, they're not taking the foot off the pedal. This to me is disastrous, and it's a bit contrived. Americans are suffering from inflation. I told you guys, $22 for a cheeseburger and fries. $22 for a cheeseburger and fries. This is not what people that's unemployed need to be paying, right? Your savings, your purchasing power is shrinking, and the government is spending all this crazy
But
money. You have to slow
well,
government spending, and wages are
why do you?
not inflating. Wages are not inflating with prices. So people's wages are under the rate of inflation. So the thing is, what the changing economics economists are trying to say is that, well, we can deal with inflation as long as salaries go up, right? And so you had some salaries that went up, but a lot of those salaries that went up, those jobs are getting let go now, like Amazon and Facebook and all those people. They're firing those people, and so their cost of living. That's what I'm saying. Your purchasing power is lower. You're unemployed at $20 an hour. That doesn't benefit you. You can't buy as much at $20 an hour than your granddad was making damn $2 an hour. He had more purchasing power than you have today. I saw a report yesterday that says 50% of people that's under 30 years old are living at home with parents. Why is that, Joe? just because they can't afford to live on their own. Right now, there are people who benefit from that greatly. I'm in that world, and yes, we had to evict
Well,
people and stuff like that to get those rents up. But then you have to understand, on one side of the coin, yes, somebody is benefiting. On the other side of the coin, somebody's not benefiting, and that's not a good
yeah,
Why is
thing.
that?
That's not a
yeah,
system.
Why is that?
exactly. I want to know too.
Why is that
But
one coin? Why is that one coin somebody's not making it, and the other coin someone's making it? What's the difference of the two? I tell you what the difference of the two mindset. One of them have a different mindset than the other. I don't care what condition you in. I don't care what poverty you come from. There are people still making wealth out of poverty. So the question becomes, if the one that didn't, and he's right next door to the one that did, all you got to do is follow what they do. I guarantee you that the one that did something different than the one that didn't do it, and the one that couldn't do it. But it's all
Yeah, I'm
go
not
back
saying
to
that the
mindset.
mindset is not a problem. What I'm saying is
Yeah,
you have a
that's
whole
what we
system
at.
here. No,
Right.
that's what I'm saying. You have a lot more people that's not going to know or even do, even if they have the knowledge, they're just not going to do the thing that it takes. And also, everybody can't, because the resources
But
are
that's
limited.
okay.
right,
But
What I'm
that's
saying.
okay. And that's why we're here to teach the point that you can. Everybody's not going to get it. Hey, everybody can't come along. Everybody can't come to the boat ride. I'm sorry.
absolutely.
But
Even
we
if
got to
everybody
understand that
We
could,
what
all can't go.
I'm getting the
but what I'm,
ones who can comprehend it
I
and
got you.
understand it's a mindset
I got you. But what I'm saying is that
block out the
there's more
fear.
people. There are more people than the people that's taking advantage of it. Is what I'm saying.
I
Listen,
agree. No, I agree. I agree if you're looking at it through that lens. But I have
no,
another
no, I'm
lens.
saying if we took 100% of the people that's available
Yeah.
and the 100% of the resources and we matched them together, if we just distributed it equally, there's not enough resources to have all those people. So even if all the people had the 100% perfect mindset, they still won't be able to take advantage of the scarce resources, right? The
I
PPP loan is
disagree.
not.
I
Hold on, let me say.
disagree.
No. It's a supply and demand thing. Hold on, let me finish. The amount of
Yeah.
people that can apply for the PPP loan, because the money itself is limited. It's not unlimited. They had a limited amount of people that can apply for the programs, and so that limited amount of people that can apply for the programs or whatever lets you know that it's limited anyway. So if you have a unlimited, the government again can't create these things. They can create money out of thin air, but then there's a sacrifice, and it's not a zero sum game. And so the thing is that, well, the government is going to sacrifice the dollar. That's what they're actually going to do. They're trying to protect it now. But I do believe that they're going to do another stimulus, because the pain is going to be too great. The pain that we're going to see is going to be so great that people are going to beg for the government to intervene. When they intervene again, they're going to reinflate, and there's going to be people that's going to benefit. And I promise you, it's not going to be the majority of the poor people. Even if some poor people do participate, it's going to be Wall Street first, because Wall Street knows what to do with the money. The financial
Well,
system
you know what?
itself
And
is the
and and
most.
even
Well,
when
How to
hold on. Let me
expand
even
finish.
it.
even when
Hold on.
even when you
Hold on.
say
Hold on.
poor
Let me finish.
people,
Let me finish, Joe.
let's
Let me
let's
finish.
use the term
Hold on. Let me
poor-minded
finish.
people.
No. Forget mindset. What I'm saying is, in the world of Wall Street, where you have people that are managing money, portfolios of millions and dollars, and making $1 million salaries, that's by way of alumni status and all these different groups, right? And so they get that information. It's not like none of y'all can't run a portfolio. Y'all have the ability to run a portfolio, but you're not. And you're likely never going to run a portfolio, because you're not going to get in a position. You're not in the club to get in that position. So when this new money gets created, Wall Street is going to benefit first, is what I'm saying. They're going to benefit, and whatever is left over, if you can get some scraps, then maybe some people can get some scraps. But majority of people are not going to benefit. Majority
Okay.
of
Okay.
people are going to hurt.
Okay.
Hold
Gotcha.
on. Majority
That
of
point.
people are going to hurt from inflation itself. Who does inflation hurt? It hurts the poor. You know why it hurts the poor? Because the poor does not own assets. Now, the rich owns assets. So in this 2-year period of inflation, you see all these real estate gurus and stuff. You know why? Because they own the assets, and the feds inflate the price of assets, and they can't control the flow of where the money flows. And this is in the report that they concluded. They create new money, but they can't control where it goes. This is what they concluded in the report. You know why? Because when they create the new money, it goes to Wall Street. It goes to businesses and people who have assets. If you don't have stocks, you don't have real estate, you don't have those assets, you will not benefit from the inflation that occurs. Now, most people don't have the assets. It's majority of people. And those majority of people who don't have those assets, you know what? They're going to hurt. The inflation is going to be detrimental to them. The price of their gas, traveling back and forth to work, their cost of food, their cost of living, their rent is going up. Now they're in pain. And then they lose their job on top of that. This is disastrous, is what I'm saying. So I know that there are people that benefit. Again, I was a beneficiary of it, but I am not blind and I'm not numb to the majority of people who do not benefit from it. And I think we got to get realistic with those things that's actually occurring. I understand the mindset thing. I don't discount you on that, brother. Yeah, but what I'm saying is there are some things that are occurring in the system that the government is controlling that will blow through some people's mindsets. Yeah, you can try to get creative as you can, but again, the resources are scarce and limited. And you have to get creative, because if you don't, then you'll die. You know, the whole key to living is adaptability. So yeah, you do have to adapt. You might have to go to a different industry. You may have to shut a business down, like old girl. She had to
whatever you got to do. You got to do it.
What I'm saying is, you're in a survival state right now. Yeah, you're in a survival state of mind right now.
Gotcha, Joe. What was that question you was wanting to ask?
Well, I mean, as I'm looking at all of this, then it seems like it's right there when we start talking about mindset, because a person with the right mindset may invest their money in the right places, which would create certain types of wealth for them to potentially protect themselves against this quote unquote overall recession, because they believe in they have not succumbed to the system. They believe in something different. They believe, or they have a mindset that there is abundance. They have a mindset that they will be okay, that they will be fine, that all their needs will be met. So it's like Pierre is over here saying, "Hey, the numbers are here. You're not gonna make it. You know, if you're not, you know, doing XYZ, then you're not gonna make it." But at the same time, when your mindset is right, if we're talking mindset, then you're talking about vibrations being sent out into this matrix, into this universe, which means that opportunities open up, and those things that you think about most are the things that are going to gravitate towards you. So if you're thinking abundance more, then opportunities, doors will open. It could be a PPP loan, whatever the case may be. It's coming towards you if in fact if you're resonating with that mindset. I mean, I can remember being young. I can remember being young.
What if they invest into the wrong business?
I can remember being young. I mean, let's talk little simple things. I can remember being young, 17 years old, order selector at Rich Foods Incorporated. You know, with nothing but grown men from jail working at a warehouse and whatnot. And there was no reason that me on this order selector machine dropping pallets and stuff like that should be out of 60 people that were fired, and they only kept 10 people, why I would be, you know, kept, right? Because I wasn't doing the greatest of jobs, but I was doing my best, right? So I'm just telling you that when your mindset, when you're thinking above, like John says, what you see, the media is pushing all this stuff about what you need to see, and they're trying to help you, you know, think a certain way. They're trying to keep fear instilled within you. When you can push yourself above that, I mean, I've been in situations where I thought I was going to be homeless, but then I switched my mentality and said, no, I don't accept that. It looked like it. It looked like I was going to be homeless, but I said, no, I don't accept that. And as soon as I switched my mentality and started, you know, picking up this supercomputer, listening to all type of positive things, opportunities opened up. And I was able to walk through those doors. So I'm just saying, you know, for any individual person, man, I know I've seen it and experienced it. And Pierre, I believe that you have seen it and experienced it within your own life, but maybe not given that credit towards it. I don't know. I'm not going, because I don't know.
So first of all, man, listen, I believe in a higher power. So again, I believe in God. I believe in Elohim. So I do believe in that, right? So, but what I'm saying is one of the first lessons that I learned in the marketplace, in the financial markets, is that there's two type of people. There are those who have ideas, and there are those who have money. The market is significant because it connects those who have ideas to those who have money. It actually tells you that there's two different types of people. Those who have money. How do they get money? Savings. Whether they work, whether it was passed down, it doesn't matter. They have savings. There's other people who have ideas. So those who have ideas, they probably are very positive, have all the great mindset and things like that. But guess what? They can never get lifted off the ground if they don't get the capital. So they must connect to get the capital so that they can actually create the things that they want to create. Now, every business that gets created, I think somebody put some statistics down there, 4 out of 100 businesses will succeed. All those people who start businesses are positive. So you have a positive mindset. That is an ingredient to get you there. But there's market dynamics that will succeed, your positive mindset, because it's the market. The market doesn't care what you believe in. The market doesn't care about none of these things. The market is what the market is. So the market is an exchange. It's a place of exchange. And again, you're competing. It's a place of competition. So just because you have a business, listen, there's other people who have the same business. That's why you have other businesses that go out of business who have the same business model, because the market chooses the winners and the losers. So all I'm saying is you have to check the marketplace. Keep your positive mindset. That's just required anyway, right? Don't nobody even if you work in a job, you don't have a business. Well, that job ain't gonna keep you if you're a negative person. Negative person. They want positive people, so stay positive. I'm not saying that, but what I'm saying is when the market takes away, then there are going to be casualties, and it could be the most positive people. I see the most positive people right now losing their jobs, and so
Right.
I'm
Here's
just
the
saying you
piece.
can't
Yeah,
discount the market factor.
Right, here's the piece and then we want to bring in Frank here on this discussion and move forward to this next discussion. But here's the piece that's really interesting. There's nothing more powerful than the brain. Your white man and that white system that you work with is not more powerful than the brain. It's number one. That's the illusion that we are falling for, that the system is going to do this and the system is going to do that. Those who believe that will go that way in the system. What me and Joe is talking about, that's not everyone. And there are certain people's mindset that can look beyond what appears to them to be failure. Now, everyone has the possibility, everyone has the ability to do this. You just have lack of faith inside of this ability to create the life that you want, despite how it appears. Meaning that no matter what the situation is, any and everyone can see the life that they want to see. My job is not to be a billionaire or to be up with these white people. My job is to be able to live on this planet freely. I can move freely, I can think freely, and I can create a wealth system for my family. That's really it. And there is nothing in the system can stop me from doing that. Nothing in the system. If you have the right mindset, you are in the perfect place to create new abilities right here on earth in this country. That's all we're saying. You have all your faith in those white people and what they're doing. I get that. But that's not me. This is why I always say white people ain't that intelligent. It's that we are falling so low that we have lost our abilities within ourselves to achieve greatness within our own self. You're too busy watching the news. You're too busy watching what's on the television, and we're putting out those fear factors. We're spreading it. We're part of it. But for me, it's a block. I don't hear it. I don't hear it because I don't even feed it. It was Joe that called me and told me about something, and I said, I haven't heard nothing about no recession that's going to come. And if I did hear it, it wouldn't bother me because the universe is expanding. Regardless of how it's got to happen, hey, if you believe in God, then you know God is in control, not this white man in the financial business that you so much love so much. I'm saying God is in control, and if you tap into that God self, you will be all right to feed your family, have some money to travel and speak freely. All you got to do is have the mindset. So now either you're believing in the system or you're believing in God, or you believe God is the system. And there is no two types of mindset. There's actually three types of mindset. Those who watch things happen, those who wonder what happened, and those who make things happen. There are those sitting around watching shit happen, and there are those who are wondering what's happening, while those who are making shit happen. And those are three different types of people on the planet. And the majority of them are those who just watching shit happen, and they ain't making nothing happen, and they aren't involved. But at least they are probably, by watching it, better in the situation by doing nothing at all. Because there are those out there ain't doing nothing at all, and they're just right into the system, following whatever the news or the television tells them, and they believe it. Guess what that do? That collective belief becomes a reality to all of y'all. It's not my reality. As an individual living in this matrix, I can pan out the life that I want, and I've done it from a prison cell. And I'm in prison with over 1,500 motherfuckers that couldn't do it. But we all have the right, we all have the same mindset, right? Not once, but twice. My point is that you can create your own world and it will manifest right here. You can have a mindset of no lack. There's no want. There's no scarcity in the brain. Guess what? You will create that same existence right here. You will live a life with no lack, no resistance, and no scarcity. It can be done. But if you got all your faith in that, then it can't be done. This is why I asked you. Then therefore, if you can't do nothing, you are a victim. But see, I'm not a victim. Once you become, once you believe that the system can do whatever they want to do to you, you are now a victim. A person who's a victim cannot move forward and make shit happen. They can only stay in that victimized mindset. And most people who are listening to that news system are victims. Your numbers are right, but your numbers are not absolute. They're right, but they're not facts. They're truth, but they're not facts of what people can do as individuals.
If what you're saying is true, then why did the government issue out PPP loans and stimulus checks and lower interest rates to zero? Why?
I could care less about that. That's that fear thing again. This is the piece you're not getting. What I'm trying to tell you is that I could care less. I could care less about why they're doing it. If you don't understand this mindset we're talking about,
we have to get the causality.
Then
that's the causality, cause and effect. What I'm saying is the government intervened. Why did the government intervene in the first place? Why? If people mindsets can uplift them from the government, like I guess the government didn't like.
Joe, you on mute.
Hold on.
You're talking about an overall system. You're talking about the overall system, right?
Exactly. Listen.
We're talking as an individual. We're speaking to individual, not the system.
Okay. Listen, this is what I'm saying. Things happen, bad things happen to good people, right?
All the time. All the time, but that still don't stop people from achieving greatness, though.
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is.
Oh, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying, though. See, that's the difference. You ain't talking about that. I am.
But you have ups and downs in life, right?
Absolutely.
Exactly. Even with a positive mindset.
And they all are in alignment. But listen, my ups and downs are all in alignment for my purpose. My ups and downs are all in alignment for my purpose.
Positive mindset in your downtime?
They are still for my purpose. Hey. Absolutely. Listen. Is what I'm asking. Listen. Right? So everything happens to you. Everything happens to you, whether you claim it as a good thing or a bad thing. It's in alignment to improve who you are, not for you to stop just because you have bad time. It's for you to move through it and make you a better human being to your next journey. See, you don't stop because you have a bad time.
That's not what I'm actually discussing, though. Like
that's the point. You're not discussing what we're discussing about mindset.
This is what I'm saying. You take the what's it called, the Maslow's hierarchy, the mindset thing, right? And so again, for years, I provided my community for free for everybody to teach them these things. And you know what? One of the hardest things to get through with people. And I learned this from my friend who's a therapist, Richard McDonald. He told me, he was like, listen, I'm talking all this motivational stuff. I'm teaching people this, that, and the third. He's like, but they can't hear you because they're hungry. Even the Bible says this. It says, show me your faith and I'll show you my works. It says faith without works is dead. You're talking about a man who's hungry, you talking positivity, boom, boom, boom. He can't even hear you because he's hungry. You understand? This is the reality. Again, I used to do all the motivational videos. You're going to check out my track sheet. I got all the motivational videos. But guess what? They won't hear you if their primary needs are not satisfied, if they don't have a roof over their head, or they don't know where the bills is going to get paid.
I agree with you. That's the scarcity. But that's not the reality. That's their reality, but that's not reality. The world is an abundance. If you feel lack, your world is lack. But if your world is abundance, your world is abundance. It's how you think about it. So what you're talking about is mindset, people who are stuck in that fear and that scarcity. There's another side to this, baby, of those who don't have fear
Scarcity.
and those who
But
don't have scarcity.
But that's why I'm talking economics, because there's no point of economics if there is abundance. The reason why you have economics is because there's scarcity. So economics itself is the allocation of scarce resources. That's all it is. It's how
Let me
all
tell you
scarce
something about
resources are being
God. Let me
allocated.
tell you something about God before we can move on. And this, you will like this subject here. And this is God. This is your God too. Check this out.
Okay.
When the human mind comes
Only one
up with
God.
something, when the human mind comes up with something, the universe or God would apply whatever it needs to apply to make it happen, even if the material is not on earth yet. I'll give you an example. If the human being begin to think of all the gold, he wants to dig up all the gold, the mindset shouldn't think of the limited material. The mindset should think of the unlimited material, because it's the unlimited material God will bring you. So if there's something here that you have in your mindset that you want, that the material's not here, God will make sure the material get here following your mindset. But if your mindset is corrupt and you are based your ideals in fear, then God can't aid you, because you do not have no idea on where you're going and what you want to produce. So this is what's called faith. Faith is the ability to believe in something yet you can't see. That's what faith is. So you have to have faith that you can have an abundant life, and your God will bring it to you. But you have to have the mindset. And that mindset is you have to break away what television's telling you and all the fear of what the government's doing, because the government isn't God, and the government cannot provide what is in your imagination or what you want your life to be. That is the piece we're talking about on my side. You don't get that, and I know, but that's God. God will provide whatever it is, despite the government. All you got to do is have faith in what you want will come to reality. And you can't allow your faith to be deterrent based on what the news is saying that the economy is going to be in the next few months. It ain't going to be shit. It's going to be, and then you get the fear, and then you lose your faith. And then therefore the universe, the God don't give you what you want because you don't went into fear. I get all of that.
I want to let Frank jump in here real quick and speak to some of this as we move forward, talking about a look back on Rona. But this comment right here, how people have abundance and allegedly commit suicide. So what happens there? Mindset, right? That has something to do with mindset. If you are a quote unquote billionaire, and then you are maybe spending, your output is billions, and your input ain't covering that, and next thing you know, a financial crisis happens, because in 2008, 2009, there were billionaires that commit suicide because they ended up being a millionaire now. So they can't cover all of the debt that they have out there that was billionaire debt, maybe, right? But with that in mind, the only thing is mindset. Why that person decided to commit suicide has everything to do with mindset, what they're thinking in those moments of time, what they're thinking mostly in those moments of time. Pierre, when you were talking earlier about, you asked the question, so are you still thinking positive in a downturn or in a downtime of your life? Absolutely. I've been ridiculed until people saw it and saw how it worked. That yes, when I'm not feeling okay, the first thing I run to go do is find my you want to call it my happy place. Whether that is jumping on YouTube to listen to The Science of Getting Rich, or Think and Grow Rich, or to listen to whatever motivational stuff that I have set in place for me, or whether that is humming a song that I enjoy or like. Those things
the purpose
are
of that
done
is to show
purposely
that the
when
financial
I'm
markets,
not feeling right,
but the
when I'm
financial markets
not
is
feeling
independent
okay,
from
in
your
order to
mentality.
lift me up
That's my
out
point.
of that negative feeling. And that's why one would do those things.
My point was that the financial markets is independent of your mentality. That's the point. Financial markets is its own beast. and it's independent of your mentality or anybody else's mentality.
It's not. If this world is a thought world,
nothing is like that.
It's all tied together. It's all tied together.
Okay, but it's a real world.
Like right now.
Hold on.
Listen,
hold on.
Let me just say this one thing.
Why would you go through a downturn? If it's dependent on your positive mentality, then you should never have any downturn.
Oh, my brother, I can teach you some stuff about the question here. Oh, brother, I can teach you about it.
Let me say this, John. So, P, if with what you just said, I should never go through. No, brother. What John just said a minute ago makes so much sense. You going through that helps you to build character. It moves you in a you got a 50-50 chance. You can sit there and look at that and sulk in the problem of that issue, or you could look at it and say, you know what? Ooh, look over there. I didn't see that before. That great thing. Here's an opportunity.
Nigga, don't you know God will put obstacles in your life just to make you better? Do you know your God will put obstacles in your life just to make you go through it to build character? Yes, he will. Absolutely.
I'm not debating that. What I'm saying
there it is then.
Market is independent.
Financial market is the same thing. It's the same thing. It's the mindset.
Right. No matter what your mentality is.
If you have the right mindset, that economy will not affect you. If it does affect you, then that economy is bigger than God to you. And I'm going to say that one more time if you didn't hear this. If you have the right mindset, that economy will not affect you unless that economy is bigger to God to you. And if that economy is your God, then you are a victim and ain't a damn thing you can do about it but stay poor and stay in poverty. My job is to get you to see that you can get out of poverty by changing your mindset and not pay no attention to this government system. That's what we're here for, is to teach you the mindset, not to fall for it. That's the illusion, is the trick. Never look at the appearance. Look beyond the appearance.
Yeah,
anyway, Frank, how you doing, brother?
We're discussing the topic, and I'm just trying to prepare people for what happened. And so I think that you should be prepared.
Yeah, we agree.
That a positive mindset, you're just gonna make it through unscathed. All right. There's going to be some war wounds. There's going to be some ups and downs.
Yep, the universe is going to send you more problems so that you can manifest your dreams even more. That's exactly right. It is a mindset. And the universe is still going to bring you a little crux or a little wrench for you can be better and stronger. Exactly right. I didn't build this business on all ups. No, there was some downs and there was some downs and there was some back up. But every time I came back up, I became better. You understand? I didn't give up. Everyone has that ability.
But the universe don't do you anything. The universe was created for man, first of all. So it's God that provides. So
God, universe, I don't care what you name it. I always say I don't care what you name it. To me, it's the universe, because to me, I'm a God. So I don't grab that term. But that's another subject. My point is that mindset, God will bless you. Your God will bless you and give you the life you want. If you don't believe it and have faith in it, then that means you have faith in the system, and that will get you nowhere. But Frank, Health Daddy, how you doing, brother? Let's get in here.
What's going on, fellas? Can y'all hear me?
Yes, sir. We hear you well.
I'm sitting over here listening to this, and man, this needs to be at the dinner table. And it's a damn shame, man, that we haven't been taught this. You know what? When I was running around in my 20s, I ended up getting this lawsuit, and I got, at the time, you know, it was over $30,000 in the 80s. If I'd have had these financial conversations, somebody teaching me this, I would have no worries today. You understand what I'm saying? So we didn't, I never got any of this. This is why this is so important to me. Man, me sitting here listening to this, and I can see both sides, man, and the passion on both sides is it's amazing. It really is. But let me say this. What's that saying? Fearing God can't occupy the same space. Fearing God cannot occupy the same space. So I get that fear thing. Because I got to lean toward, the brother John Yao on this. Plus, I'm a little older than you, Pierre, and I've come through a lot of what John come through. Don't mean you not, brother. You're a breath of fresh air to me. You understand what I'm saying? Over here listening to you, But I come a lot from where John come from, and I tend to lean that side, because it boy,
if it wasn't for that, do you think
y'all
you'd be
cover
here
so
today?
much. I don't know where to begin, but y'all
Hey,
both
Frank.
on the same page, going to the same place, but one is using the highway, in my opinion, one using the back roads, and you're gonna end up at the same place is what I'm saying. So a lot of what you all, kind of clash with, you're gonna end up at the same place, in my opinion. But it's a beautiful argument, it needs to be said. I love everything y'all talk about. That's why I love this show.
Can you guys hear me okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, we can hear you, John.
Hey, Frank, question. Has a positive mindset, has the thought of an abundant mindset helped you?
Oh, without a doubt. I come from the school. When I was in elementary school, my mother bought me 5 pair of pants and 3 shirts, taking me to the whole school year. And I never thought I don't want to get into what I make, but I never thought I'd make 6 figures in my life, And and growing up and what I seen coming through and all that, if I had kept that same mindset, then I'd probably be still in that mindset. But I have learned to abundance and what have you. This is in my opinion, is manifestation. I manifested this. My son's in the back. He's a mechanic. We own this. If we was talking about financials, I made it to the point. I got to pat myself on the back. I made it to the point where we own this property. So we pay ourselves. This is a commercial property where our business resides, and we own this property. So we don't have a lot of these worries that other businesses have. I just heard a young lady talking about it was a tragic thing that she had to close one of her businesses. Well, like I talked to my son, we have to keep it to where we can't have fear, but we have to keep it to where we can do things like this. We keep our our bills and stuff at a certain level, and we able to come through this with no problem. We're not gonna have no problem.
So let me ask you, Frank. This is so in essence, this is the highway versus the back roads. This is where it comes together. This is that right there that you're talking about is where the positive mindset comes together with the economic aspect, and they meet, right? Because of that type of mindset that you have, you focus on keeping your expenses low and things of that nature, owning your property. So now your business pays you rent every month, which in essence is where that economic and that positive mindset meet. And that's what we're trying to talk about, is the idea that when it comes to a positive mindset, you're going to do things in a certain way. If you set in your mind that there is only abundance, that in your world, your individual world, that there's only abundance, then guess what? You're going to do things in a certain way. So those certain ways may help protect you against what the system is falling into, or people that have succumbed to the system have fallen into. And real quick, let me just say this one thing. Frank, do you carry products that are other brands, like if it's a quality product, like if somebody had their own line of different type of teas, knowing that you carry teas, would you carry their teas in your store?
No, no.
Okay.
I'm not gonna put nobody's competition in my store like that.
Got you.
But I will, like I don't make deodorant, so I will have a somebody who's making deodorant, such as Brother John Yah, who has his product, incense. I don't do incense, so I'll bring that in, if it's good quality. Yes, I'll bring people in like that. But if it's a direct competition to mine, no, I'm not going to do that. I mean, I'm a businessman.
Absolutely.
Why would I do that? If they, if they tease and they stuff is all that, they should have what I have. They should have their own spot. I don't know how that sounds, but I don't care how it sounds. I'm a businessman. That's why I understand John
those resources,
and I understand Pierre. I understand both sides, and that's why we need everybody at the table when this is going on, man. You need everybody at the table, and we need to fuss and fight at each other. And this is just what I don't like to use colors, but I have to use it, in order for people to, they know what I'm talking about. But that's what the Black community needs. We've seen all peaches and cream. We need to be in here. Pierre, he believes in what he believes. John believes in what he believes. You believe in what you believe, Joe. And we just all come together and make this thing
think
work.
About the ability for us to sit. Let's fight and argue about this versus about shoes. You stepped on my shoes in the club. We don't need to fight and argue over that. We can fight and argue over this. And the reality is that it's not necessarily fighting, not necessarily arguing.
Right.
It's really a matter of shaking each other up. In order to get this information.
This is men shit. Real men.
Toxic masculinity.
So we talking about that. Everybody ain't gonna make it. Everybody ain't gonna make it. I'm telling you. In order to do this, I did what a lot of people wouldn't do. I shut myself down from any entertainment, vehicles, vacations, any of that for 10 years. And I had people all on my head, you can afford this, you can afford a better car than that. But I wasn't listening to that stuff. I had a goal. I didn't really know what the purpose was at the time. But I know now. I'm doing a lot of what, man, I get praise for bringing this to our community. It's nothing like this down here. But that wasn't my intentions at first. I didn't think we wanted this. So I was out there, like meeting us halfway. If you know Louisville, I'm meeting halfway. I wanted other folks involved in this because I didn't think we would support him. But that's a damn lie. We up through here and we supporting. We got a long way to go. But we maintaining, we doing good, and I have no regrets.
Hey Frank, how's business right now for you?
Business is good. And when we was talking about the cigarette people, the liquor people, the health went through the roof too. Health went through the roof during that. Can I say Corona?
Corona 19, whatever you want to call it. Say it.
Rona.
Don't be scared of these people.
People went out of business. People doing this and that, but we grew. We was here for the people. We never shut down. I wasn't listening to. I don't know if I want to say all that, but we did what we had to do. We was here for the people, and they knew it. You couldn't get in here. You had an hour late wait time trying to get up in here during those times. Why? Because we was open when people were not. We was open when the doctor's office wasn't even open. So that's because we didn't have no fear. We had zero fear because I knew what was up. And, I always talk about knowledge of self and all that. I knew what was up. I already learned about viruses, the immune system, and all that. If they gonna put something out there that's bigger than your immune system, anyway.
So Frank, you had the ability to look beyond what the appearance was.
I wasn't even paying no attention to it. It didn't even affect me because, for one, I was educated. I was already, man, all that stuff I learned 15 years ago, John, y'all, it prepared me to now.
There you go.
I can go back to when my son was born, when he ran a fever of 104, 105, 106, and ended up coming out of his illness. That prepared me for now. He got so hot, after it was all over with, his skin peeled like a snake. That's how hot he got. That's a story for another time. But that fever it heated up to the point where it burnt off or what have you, healed what he was going through. But at the same time, he lived through that. You know, the doctors and all that, they was like, we don't know what's going on with him. So all they could do, they said, we can't do nothing. We can't give him nothing. So they gave him saline solution, and he just laid there. And that fever ended up getting him through that. That's how I know a high fever. Now, I'm not a doctor. So let's say that if you do what they say do when it comes to a fever and all that, we had to learn the hard way. You know, our son's laying there with this high fever and wasn't nothing we can do about it. You know, so he just had to go through that process. Well, anyway, it taught me something. You know, the art of healing. The body will heal itself if you give it pretty much what it wants, needs.
So did your business was your business this particular business here not shut down by the government during the lockdowns? Your business was able to stay open without the government mandating regulations and fees and taxes and stuff like that. Like you could stay open at this time. You didn't have to shut down. That's what I'm saying.
I was lucky because I was considered essential, you know, but I could have shut down in the fear of things. But we sold, you know, health products. So there were places open who sold health products, you know, the small.
Let me ask you this, Frank. Did anybody come knock on your door and say anything to you?
No, because we was considered essential. We selling health products, so we was an essential business. Now, if we wasn't considered essential, I ain't even gonna get into that. But
that was my point about the government choosing winners and losers. They chose who get to stay open, and they chose who can't stay open. And those who couldn't stay open, I'm pretty sure they didn't have a negative mindset, but they were impacted by things that was outside of their control. So we can only control our controllables, which is our mindset. But the financial market, the government, we can't control that. You see what I'm saying? But it still has an impact on those people who could not open up. So, and again, we talk about the economy as allocation of scarce resources. Consumers are resources. So where they would have otherwise went to other businesses, now those businesses are locked down. Those resources have been directed to your business. So then you're a beneficiary of the lockdown. And same thing for John Yah. So because you're a beneficiary of the government intervention doesn't mean that nobody else wasn't impacted in a negative way. The government chooses winners and losers, so it's no zero-sum game when the government intervenes. It intervenes, and you may be a recipient of it. So that's why I'm dealing with the causality of how it all takes place. You might not care about it, but what I'm saying is this is the reason how and why. That's what I was getting to.
Yeah, we told those who get it totally understand where you come from, Pierre. You know, John, in my opinion, I don't speak for him, but he's not saying that. What he's saying is those, I mean, through the ups and downs, as is with this business,
right?
We've always been here. I never had it in my mind that we want to fail. Even when the numbers don't look good. You know what I'm saying? I just don't have it in my mindset. I'm here for, this is bigger than me. This is so big. You know, you got to have that. You got to have that mindset when you're doing anything. Like,
is this your first business that you started?
Everybody's not going to make
business that you started?
No, I'm glad you asked that because I had other businesses way before this. I always been an entrepreneur through my granddaddy. That's why it's so important to have good men in your life. But I had a chicken wing business back in 2000. Chicken wings, you know, you name soul food, so-called soul food. And guess what? It almost killed me. So I wasn't supposed to be doing that. You know,
you're talking about physically almost killed.
Almost killed me physically because I was eating that food every day.
You was eating the chicken wings.
I was eating the chicken wings, the macaroni and cheese, the you know, you name it.
You know what? The way that you say chicken wings and macaroni and cheese, it leads me to believe absolutely that you had a chicken wing business because you just say it in such a way that only a person that had a chicken wing business could say.
Yeah, we had chicken wing business even before Buffalo Wild Wings. Yeah, we was doing the thing. So, man, I've always had that. If it was meant for me, I'd still be in it. But that business almost killed me through that food and everything. See, everything has prepared me for today. But now I'm here. Everything's thriving. I didn't have a lot of money when we started this. It's just,
but you started several businesses, though.
Man.
But you had several. But you had several businesses in the past, is what I'm saying. Like this is not your only business. You started several businesses in the past. right?
Yeah, I failed.
Right, and
I failed many times.
well, that's
So
what I'm saying.
but
Like,
each
yeah,
time,
you
each
have to
time
shut
your
some things
mindset
down. Yeah.
expanded.
Huh?
Each time your mindset expanded, you grew
You
a
Yeah.
little
learn
bit
something
more
new. Right. Well,
through
so
those
what I'm saying is,
failures. You learned,
yeah,
I
if
you learn
anything,
so-called.
you
from
learned what
failures.
not
Right.
to
Yeah.
do. Yeah,
I
if
didn't really
anything, you learned
fail.
what not to do.
I didn't really fail. I wasn't supposed to be doing that. I wasn't supposed to be selling no
Yeah.
chicken
You
wings.
probably just
No,
you just left out of it. Yeah.
no disrespect to the soul food people, but
The fuck, people dying from that shit.
when we open up when we start opening up some more restaurants, look, we got enough soul food restaurants, people.
We sure do.
We got enough soul food restaurants. Let's get to something else. Please get to something else. Cause that soul food, man. I mean,
It's killing you. It's killing you.
He almost killed me, so I know
It's
I'm in the
killing
right.
you. I don't know why we even call that shit food. It's just crappy. I don't know why they put soul on it, because it rips your soul out of your body.
But who's in charge of the food, though? The government, FDA.
Yeah,
the
I seen a
FDA.
dude online the other day, cutting up some hog maws, and frying them up. So that's the double whammy. I mean, dude, so they laugh about this, and I'm intervening now, and I'm saying this ain't funny no more. This is not funny anymore. You're not even here to see your grandchildren. My daddy left me at 35 years old. He don't even know his grandchildren. My mother left at 44. I'm tired of that. I don't want to see it no more.
You go.
Bragging about eating the intestinal tract of a pig. Not on my watch. You're not going to do that. You can do that all you want to, but you're not going to do it in front of me. Yeah, I grew up on Spam, Vienna sausage, sardines, hog head cheese, whatever. But my grandchildren ain't touched none of that shit. And I would be offended if you try to bring it over a hot dog. You know what I'm saying? So they don't have to experience that stuff. They're not getting to go through all that stuff. I'm still healing from all that old crazy stuff I was eating and drinking and thinking back in the day. You know what I'm saying?
Okay, so now looking back when we were going through this, virus, corona thing, and they was pumping the fear. They had doctors lined up agreeing with all of it. Then you had some doctors saying no. Some doctors who was Nobel Peace Prize winners was made to look like they quacks and liars when they went against what the government plan was and what they were trying to do. We saw it, I think, from the very beginning. Of course, I've always been a person that was anti-vaccine, even with my daughter in public school. I go way back. I go way back with signing forms to have her exempt from vaccines. I didn't take vaccines. I believed in my immune system. I believed in my health in an early age to start understanding this. So when this came, of course, I never really was a person who goes to allopathic medicine doctor without first going to my holistic doctor. Or if I was to have a problem, I would go to the allopathic doctor to get a diagnosis, but I wouldn't take his healing or his medicine. He has the best tools and machines to look at something inside your body and say, yep, that's probably what it is, but I wouldn't do his method. We're looking today at a time to where there was a whole host of people fell for this trick. They were looking at each other different. They were ostracizing their own family members. You can't come over if you ain't taking the shot or wearing a mask. People lost their jobs because they refused to either wear a mask or take a shot. And so now here we are, 2 years later, we're seeing government being sued. We're hearing companies being sued for firing people, violating people's constitutional rights, forcing people to do. Now here we are now, and the company that made the drug said, well, we knew the drug wasn't gonna work, and it wasn't gonna prevent you, it wasn't gonna help you, and we were kept saying, well, then why take the shot? Because they kept pushing the lie, they kept pushing it, they didn't care. Regardless, they kept pushing it. And the more they pushed it, the more people believed it in their minds. Instead of turning the TV off and rejecting it, they believed it. And a lot of people, out of fear, ran down there and took that shot. Out of fear, they did. And some of them, they had the fear because some of them said, well, I got underlined, I got this problem, I may have that problem. And they ran to get the shot. Now here we are 2 years later with all the information that's coming out that the shots weren't no good, that it was just regular, just another kind of regular flu for you, that your body has this system that knows how to combat. Your body is remarkable. When you have a fever, that's your brain sending a signal to your body that your body's fighting something. All you got to do is drink water and go somewhere and lay down and be still. Your body will work yourself out. But no, they didn't want to tell you about your immune system and how you have your own body knows how to fight a disease off. By just catching a little bit of it, it knows how to fight it. You know, here we are now. We're at this level now. Do you think they can do it again? Do you think they can put another pandemic on the people in America? I don't think they can. I think right now there is a virus going on. Right now they ain't pushing for shots in public schools. They ain't pushing for masks or anything. They ain't pushing it. Maybe in the medical field, probably in the hospitals, they probably still are kind of pushing it. But overall, no one's pushing it. No one's walking around forcing people to wear masks to come into a grocery store, none of that. So where we are now is at a different state. In other words, we went through that fear, and it showed that a lot of Americans said, no, fuck you. You're not going to violate my constitutional rights. This is when I became aware of senators who was challenging the government, saying, no, this is a violation. Rand Paul. I'm looking at the Democrats and who was all wanting to push shots on you black people. He wanting to tell you they was having vaccines post tents put up. Me and Joe was invited to a black-owned station that was pushing the vaccines, and we got on there and we just really just messed everything up so much the person didn't want to even post it. Because why? We challenged the notion. We're not doctors. We just made common sense out of the challenge. So here we are now 2 years later. Do you think they can do it again and push the button and help people running around scared and can't go into business? Do you think the people will fall for that again?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it's terrible. I mean, I don't want it to be so, but society is. I mean, we are the few amongst the many. I must say, and I was attacked by many people. I saw it from day one, just like you guys did. I think we're all students of health. We are all people who care about our not just financial health, but our physical health as well. So we all kind of study, and I think we all had the same conclusions at the same time when it was all unfolding. And I've gotten into fights with all kind of people, and people want to fight to have the government to give the government all this power that the government does not actually have according to the Constitution. And so they set a precedence, and out of fear, like you said, it is out of fear. And the biggest fear factor was them, firing people. You interfering with people's, cost of living and living. Then it's different. You remember in the beginning, they were paying people to test these vaccines out, right? And so the first test dummies at least got paid. And then they couldn't get enough people to sign up for it. And then the second test dummies, they was had jobs trying to incentivize people, give them some kind of bonus or something crazy or whatever, right? So if you voluntarily sign up because you felt like you got some kind of benefit for it, whatever, I ain't mad at you. I mean, I feel you. But when they came in, because it wasn't enough people, Joe Biden, if you take a look at Pfizer's balance sheet, right? You take a look at their earnings, you will see they made the most money out of any vaccine it ever made from this so-called vaccine. It's not even a vaccine, but we're going to just say what it is, for what they say it is. They made the most money ever from this thing because, the government bought it. Again, we're talking about, nepotism, government choosing winners and losers. And they pumped these companies up with this money. They bought all these vaccines, and he needed to get it out to the people. So when people wasn't voluntarily signing up, because everybody was like, oh, hell no, I'm not taking that. But then once they threatened the jobs, that's when they got the big push. And then Joe Biden could say, yeah, we got all these vaccines out there. He's celebrating, doing a victory lap. We got all these people to take these vaccines, and it's saving all kind of people's lives. Had nothing to do with the vaccine. And anybody who took the vaccine because your job made you do it, I'm not mad at you. I don't want you to feel guilty or nothing like that, because I know that it's real. You got to live, and you made the decision that you thought was best for you. And so everybody had to make their decision. I ain't mad at you. You did what you had to do. I just hope and pray that the so-called vaccine, this gene therapy that they have, just don't work. So if it didn't work, then good for you. if it does work, then maybe we'll see some impacts of this some years. And now you see the late night commercial, 3 o'clock and 2 o'clock in the morning, saying, "Hey, did you get this shot? Boom, 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 and you had these symptoms." Because
if you grew a deer head out the side of your ear, then please call this number so that you can get compensated for the deer out the side of your ear that you can't shoot.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But yeah,
and she's right.
I think it was all planned, man.
But she's right about the pandemic, and I believe it too. But I believe it usually happens every 20 years. Here's why. Because the people will forget, and there's always a new sucker born every day. Just like we talked about the pyramid scandal, the pyramid scheme happens every 20 years, just in a different form. People fall for it and think it's really a lot of money, and then found out later it was just a scam. I've seen it 3 or 4 times in my lifetime. And y'all probably don't remember the first one. Huh?
You don't think it can happen again in the next 2 to 5 years? You don't think
it probably could, but I don't think it'll work like it did. Man, people were beating up family members then. I don't think it'll work that serious. I think it's going to take another 20 years to where a lot of our minds kind of forget what happened, because they play games with us. But nevertheless, I think that what I loved about in this country was the constitutional right, what other countries didn't have, where people were being stomped upon, locked up, and beat up. In Australia, they was just throwing people in jail, all kinds of stuff. But here in this country, we had the Constitution. And no matter what, they tried to bypass the Constitution. But nope, we had the Constitution to stand on. And now look who's right and look who's wrong. Those who were trying to stample on the Constitution, and look at those who are now winning. I saw white people.
They won't apologize.
Fighting, huh?
They will never apologize to you.
They sure won't. Oh my God, they sure won't. I've seen white people say, "Hell no, you ain't violating my Constitution." See, one of the things we do as a people, this thing here.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we'll fight for voters' right, but we won't stand up for the Constitution. I've not seen a black senator yet.
I don't think we know the Constitution, man. I don't think we understand the Constitution.
I don't think so either. You didn't hear these senators who was running for office, these black ones, speaking and standing on constitutional rights. They weren't.
Pushing the vax. They was pushing.
Right. They were pushing the vaccine. And this is why I said who was wrong. And will they admit that they were wrong for trying to push black people to take these shots?
They had rappers doing something. They had Juvenile from Back Up saying "backs that thing up." He had a whole music video.
They did.
Think about how silly that is. How silly that even sounds. And it's just, and the whole thing is that when you start talking common sense, like when John and I, this was a popular local
podcast
advocate in the city. He put together this thing and it was with the local Louisville, Kentucky Metro Health Department.
Uh-huh.
And it was just so interesting because after the fact, you had people commenting stuff like, wow, those two guys really made a lot of sense. And that was the basic thing that multiple people would say is they made a lot of sense. And that's simply because, you can't refute what makes sense, what's common sense. So when people were talking about the Rona and different things from the health department, and we start pulling up facts about mucus and how things work when it within the body, then how you can utilize certain natural things to continue to flood your body with the health and wellness that it needs to rid your body of such issue versus having to go take some vaccine and shot that ain't been studied, that don't nobody know about, that don't nobody know what the results are going to be years from now. Then people gravitated towards what made sense. If they gravitated towards the common sense. And that's all we really
they gravitated towards the so-called experts. They said, "Oh, John, you're not a doctor. Joe, you're not a doctor. while I'm listening to
And
you,
what I'm talking
Fauci
about
said this.
within this particular video, within this Zoom that we did, then they gravitated when they heard the two arguments, they gravitated towards the common sense arguments because it
Well,
made more sense.
exactly. And look, you know why they invited me and Joe? Because our show was anti-vaccine. So they was really trying to make us look wrong and
Yep.
hope that we would turn around. But one of the things that teed me off most was the white woman that was responsible for setting up the tents in the West End. And I asked her, I said, what do you think? Black people stupid that you got to keep telling us about? We know about the vaccine. I said, if you look at the statistics, there are more white people in rejection of taking the vaccine than black people. So why ain't you setting tents out there? What did she say? I never thought of that. I said, out there, Hirschborn,
Man.
in that area, why ain't you out there? Why are you in the black neighborhood like we need you to come and save us? Why ain't you out there with the white people who are fighting against taking the shots? Why ain't you setting tents up out there? So I saw it as something, as an agenda that they were having, along with T-Made in his show. Yeah, I see his name. T-Made in his show. It was an agenda. And this is why they asked us to come on. We didn't ask to come on their show. We could care less. We was doing our thing. But we was asked to come on their show for that reason. We didn't know he was going to have the doctor on there from the health department. We didn't know. I didn't know who he was going to have. I just thought he was going to have just some local people. But we didn't care either. I think we stood on what we believed in so strong, and we didn't care who he was up against. Even LOU, when we was on LOU, there were people calling in, black people, of course, trying to get LOU to cancel our show, because we were speaking against the vaccine. Our people, not white people, our people.
We are the first to cancel ourselves and each
We
other.
canceled ourselves.
Man.
But think about all the medical malpractice that occurred during that time, and no one is responsible. You know, I lost my grandmother and her husband actually during this time, who was placed on a ventilator. And if you notice, over 80% of the people that was placed on ventilators died. They were blowing people's lungs out. I mean,
sure was.
The medical malpractice, you know, I got family members still upset. They want to sue and all this other stuff. And it's like, there's no one that's responsible for it. They want to blame it on the vaccine. And the book that I'll show you guys about F.A. Hayek in his, it's called the Road to Serfdom. He was talking about, you know, how the government creates these pandemics, to these issues, to unite the people for a common cause against a common enemy. And he was saying how when they do these things, they're permanent. They never actually achieve their goal. He's talking about the war on crime. He said they had a war against crime. I think that was a time, war on crime, a war on drugs. He's like, they got a war on poverty. He said, if you notice, they never achieved their goal. We're still fighting the war on poverty. We're still fighting the war on crime. We're still fighting the war on all these things. And he said, that's the only way the government can usurp freedoms from the people, where people freely give away their freedoms to the government, which sets the precedence that allows it to do what it's doing, right? And so that's only because they create the pandemic, to create the fear, so people say, oh, government, come save me, come do this. And the government say, okay, well, we got to take away your rights. We're going to force these vaccines. We're going to do all this stuff that it can't do according to the Constitution. But they was using different precedents from other court cases, Supreme Court cases, set precedents to say, oh, well, you had to get vaccines when you was in school and this, that, and the third. So this is the vaccine. And a lot of people don't understand what these drugs are. And if you know what a technical vaccine is, the vaccine itself is just taking a part of the virus, exposing it to the person's body. It's a weakened state of the virus itself. And they're injecting the weakened state. And your immune system has to overcome this thing no matter what. It ain't no medicines and none of this. Your immune system is fighting this. And then once it figures out how to defeat the virus, memory cells actually remembers the code to defeat it. So if it's ever faced with this virus again, it will overcome it because it has the codex for it. And so with these mRNA technology, again, you got the dude, one of the pioneers, Robert Malone, who's been talking about this. It's like a hacker. If you got into computer coding and hacking, it is like that. And exactly. So you had so to try to make it simple, you have your DNA, which is the source of everything. It has all kind of knowledge in this DNA. I don't know what it comes from. I think it's divine. Okay. The DNA takes information and clones it or replicate it, they say, into the RNA. The RNA takes it out into the cell and then manufactures it, produces and make, whatever the DNA told it to make. So the DNA can tell it to make brown eyes, blue eyes, big lips, big nose, whatever the case may be. That's what it tells it to do. And so when it does this, the RNA carries that copy code and then it replicates it. And so on a technicality, the reason why they're saying it's a vaccine and not gene therapy is because they're saying that they're not injecting the DNA, they're injecting the RNA. This is the only difference is what they're saying, that it's not gene therapy, where they are taking the information that the DNA has passed to the RNA and they're incepting, like inception, putting the seed in there, which is a blueprint, it's information. They're putting the spike protein blueprint inside of the RNA, as they claim it, and then the RNA thinks that it's got this information from the DNA, but it didn't. It got it from the man, and the man, and then the RNA goes into the cell and create and produce COVID.
Yes.
That's what it does. This is gene therapy. But the only technicality is that it's not the DNA. They're not impacting the source. They're impacting the copy. This is the only difference. And so that's why I was encouraging people to take your time to learn to understand these things. Like you were saying, brother John, earlier, the body has everything it needs. I saw this. There's a good YouTube video. This guy here. I got his book. Geez, what is his name? His name is Philip Detmer. This guy here, look him up. It's called Kurzgesagt. That K word right there. If you can look at his video up here on immunity, it was so interesting. I had to get his book because he was saying, and he makes it colorful, it's beautiful. He was saying any disease or virus from the past or in the future hasn't even showed up yet. The immune system has the key to defeat it already. And so what they're saying is the time that it takes for the body to figure out the codex for it is the time that there's risk, where if it doesn't figure it out in time enough, you can probably die, something like that. But you have everything in you that God put into us. Our bodies is God technology, I call it. And there are doctors, MIT doctors, all these doctors who are saying that the human body is so advanced. These are complex systems on top of systems. They're saying that doctors don't even understand this because they're taught one way. It's like it takes engineers to understand to connect complex systems on top of complex systems. Your digestive systems connected to your heart system, your cardiovascular system, and your neural system. All these systems are so complicated. Man doesn't understand them. And all we're trying to do is to break it down into a protein. Oh, it's just a protein. We could just make the protein and fix the problem. And that doesn't fix anything. And so people are running to the government thinking that, oh, I can get a protein and then it's going to fix everything. No, it doesn't work that way. The whole entire body must be healthy. You got to understand immunity. So that's what I encourage people to do. Don't put your faith in government. The government has consistently lied, will continue to lie. And you can't take the government, for your source of all of that, because the government has its own agenda.
So that's interesting. Great information. What'd you say, Frank? You muted.
Yeah, you got me muted. Real quick, it wasn't after a while during that pandemic or whatever, the government had to do nothing. It was employees. It was human resources. It was different people like that. They would attack you. You better put that on. And I know in a lot of work from a lot people in work, it gave who could tell somebody to put that on, to have you. It gave them a sense of superiority. It was strange. It was strange. You better put that on. And it was just strange. They didn't have to do anything anymore. We was kind of controlling each other, and that was so-called controlling each other, and that was the big problem that was going to occur, in my opinion, because when nobody get ready to tell me to do what I didn't want to do. You know what I'm saying?
Put your mask on.
I didn't. At my job, I promise you, I was the only one that never wore a mask. I didn't care if anybody else wore one, but I never, through the whole thing, I was the only one that didn't wear a mask, and I had a lot of people mad at me for that. A lot of people want to speak to me today for that, but no, I trust my immune system, and if you believe in God, you should trust your immune system. Thing is you trusting in man more than you are your creator. So I just wanted to put that in our. We was attacking each other more than the government was.
You're right. You're right. And it's not the government's
So
job to
yeah,
take care of our health. It's our job to take care of our own
I
health.
learned about the immune system a long time ago. I knew it wasn't a threat. And the thing is how can we believe them anyway? Why would we? How can we believe them? You know what I'm saying? Of all the government, from all the stuff they've done, from all the stuff they've said, what you let them do that? But I don't want to get into like the people was like the opposition was, they squashed the opposition, so you had people, the fear was great. They didn't know what to do. So they just kind of went with what they knew. And that's what they do. They shut other people down who had an opposite position. It was really sad watching this. Could you imagine? I'm sitting there watching this whole thing. Is it loud in the background?
Nah, you good, man.
I'm sitting there watching this whole thing. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Look, I'm sitting there watching this whole thing unfold, man, and I'm just, my job and in these grocery stores, and just it was the hatred they had for me for just not following along with something I knew better about. I knew it.
Because now,
but the thing is my job knew in deep inside they couldn't do nothing to me. They couldn't make me put that on. They knew it, so they didn't bother me. But I had people constantly telling me, he's not worried about, he's the only one I know that ain't. But they didn't bother me with it because I knew what was up. And I knew my rights. And you can't prove it. You can't prove that I was passing anything off, that it came from me. How you gonna even prove something like that? It just sounds bad to people who believe in this or still going through this or what have you. I don't mean no harm towards you. I promise you did what you had to do, and if you still believe that, I respect that. But I don't have to believe what you believe, and I'm not.
Yeah.
Pierre, you said something earlier in the stream. The government has no business trying with your health. That's why I don't. This healthcare stuff and how they keep putting up these facilities. Check that out. How they keep putting these facilities up west of Louisville. You understand what I'm saying? These medical facilities. It's like they gotta have them. And I'm like, if that was the answer, if more medical facilities, drugs, and all that was the answer, then we wouldn't need more medical facilities.
But they don't want you to be
that
healthy.
Makes sense to you. It all would be taken care of.
Yeah.
I don't want the government and their health care. Now, I know it might sound strange to a lot of people. I don't want your health care. I'll go to you if I have some trauma going on with myself, maybe, shot, stabbed. I'm not saying you shouldn't exist. You got people choking on stuff. So you're very, very beneficial. Very, very beneficial. I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is, I should be able to do that. Eating right, thinking right, drinking right, leave my food alone. I'll probably be okay doing life unless some kind of trauma happens to me.
The FDA controls your food system.
But I just want to throw that in there, guys. This has been a heck of a conversation.
You're right, Pierre.
And, I really love this show, man. And, and I see, like, the results after y'all get through, and I see there's so many likes or so many people watching. It's not true, man. They do things to just it discourage you from doing this show every week. And I know it's not easy, but man, I know y'all get more views than that. I know more people are listening. I know
the good thing. The good thing is that we're in multiple different spaces. And so, when you add up the views throughout the week, it's thousands of views throughout the week.
One more thing,
multiple different
things. Could they do it to us again? That's a good question, man. That's an excellent question because I don't know. And this time, this time we try to go through this again, and you try to come to me with that if I'm the opposition, I'm not gonna be so nice. And that's the thing. I don't want to quarrel with you, but don't be trying to put this falsehood on me when when I know different. I know different from my soul. I know what viruses are. I know you don't have to be a doctor in order to understand health. It's all kind of books out there, all kind of people out there you learn from. We just got to do that.
It's one thing about health. I tell you that everyone's health is different. Certain herbs and certain regimens that people use don't mean it will work on you. I always say this, and I'm going to always say it over and over again. There is nothing more worthy to study than yourself. Not one thing more worthy to study than you. You're walking around with you. Why wouldn't you study you? Huh?
I can barely hear you. You need to mute me, Joe.
No, you good. I think I can. I think it's
phone
had
call
something to do
came
with
in.
your phone.
I think your phone, when you got that phone call, it messed up because your sound was different.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, being the health is a very important thing to understand your particular health. A lot of times we hear something of someone battling with something, or they had something they were dealing with, and they say, "Oh, I took this," and they take that and it don't work. This is why everybody's body is different. You should understand how your body works, and what works for you is extremely important to study you, right? And when I think that the number one thing is, as Dr. Lucrece said in one of the chats, she mentions about everybody don't eat healthy. And then that's the problem. And that's when we talk about, see, everybody can't go. Everybody's not going to be able to take this health journey. So, you got to leave some people. I don't care if it's family members or not. You got to leave some people where they are in that lifestyle. What you can only do is stand in an example that if they want to learn, there it is. It's like I explained about two people born in poverty. One of them make it. I mean, everyone can tell you. I don't care who I'm talking to about black people, and talk about the poverty and the white man. I would ask them, do you know anybody in the hood that made it? Then therefore, it ain't the hood. It's the individual. And all you got to do is follow their thinking and how they what kind of regimen did they use to make themselves better? Did they work out? Did they have a certain way of eating? See, we're living in a society that stuff can be pumped out to us, and without us thinking, we follow it. Look at McDonald's. Look, when you mention that health facility down the West End that they're building, look what's around it. McDonald's and fried chicken places, right? So yes, a health facility is needed if you're going to keep the same regiment diet. And that becomes the problem. People are too busy eating fried foods instead of learning how to cook their food for themselves. So therefore, again, everybody can't come. Everybody's not going to get this information and try to change their diet. They're not. Because why? Working on self is the hardest thing to do. Pointing the finger at someone else is easy. It's their fault. They did it. But if you're looking inside yourself, that's the hardest thing. And this is why I said, look beyond the appearance. You have to look inside yourself. You have to look deep, and you have to ask yourself, is this benefiting me? The number one problem, the number one health problem that if you can conquer, you have already solved half your problems. I don't care what your problem is. I don't care if you got high blood pressure. I don't care if you're diabetic. I don't care what it is. If you do this one thing, you will solve half your problems, and that's sugar. If you can stop eating sugar, if you can stop eating processed sugar, half your problem is solved. But you know what? Majority of people listening right now won't challenge that. So therefore, I'll say again, everyone can't go. Hey, if I built an island that was all for healthy people, guess what? You can't come because you're going to be on my island looking for sugar, or you're going to bring some sugar with you. And I don't want the sugar on my island. Everybody can't come. And you just got to understand that piece. And that should be okay. Our job is to just stand in as a light. That, hey, I said this 20 years ago of how I wanted my health to be when I'm 60. I didn't want to be on nobody's pharmaceutical. I still wanted to be healthy, working out. I still wanted to be having great sex. I still want to have a great mind. Now that I'm 61, now the goal is 80, another 20 years for the same results, right? But it takes work. It's not going to be easy. No, I'm going to have some challenges. It's going to take work. And it's about learning who I am and how my body functions, how my blood type functions, how my blood carries my nutrients to the other parts of my body, what I can't eat and the things I can eat, what don't work well with me. You can eat avocados. I can't eat avocados. You need to learn that about your body. I can't eat cashew nuts. My body just don't work well with that. So you should know what you can eat and study your body, because it's the greatest thing you can do on this planet is study who you are and your body.
Hey, I got a book I want to recommend to you guys called The Fiat Standard. I have the audio version, but it's by Dr. Saifedean Ammous. He's an
I
economist.
heard that.
He did a lot of research. Yeah, he wrote a book called A Bitcoin Standard. So any Bitcoin people out there, they probably know who he is. But he also has a book called
That's
The
where I
Fiat
heard it
Standard.
from. The Bitcoin guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's called, so he's got a book called The Fiat Standard. Really interesting book. He talks about how everything is fiat now. We normally talk about fiat meaning, a currency that's not backed by anything. And from history, we know that all fiat currencies collapse, right? So we're talking about financial collapse today. And so America's financial fiat, the dollar is going to collapse eventually as well, just as other fiat currencies has. But he says that not just our money is fiat. He says everything is fiat now. He said the family is fiat, right? You have a lot of men that's not in their household. The government's at the head of their household. You got all these women on welfare and stuff like that. You got to kick your man out, put the government in. You have parents afraid to discipline their children because they're afraid that the government is going to take their kids from them or put them in jail. So parents are not in charge of their children no more. Parents are afraid to homeschool their kids. You think that you got to put your kid in public school, but you actually don't. So we have a fiat family. But then to conclude to the conversation, he has a section called the fiat food. Oh, it was really interesting, man, because he was saying how our food system is fiat. And it was interesting. He was talking about in the 70s, the high inflationary period that we had, when inflation was so high. Again, they had to raise interest rates up to 20% to get the inflation down. But the government had a task to make the cost of food cheaper. And he said this is when they started substituting and started doing all this. He said they started demonizing like the meat industry and promoting seed oils, all these different vegetable seed oils. And he calls them machine oils. Like they're not meant for the body to be breaking down these kind of oils from corn and all this other stuff that they're making. And he said that he did all this research, and he said America obesity problem occurred after the 70s. That's when we got the
Yes.
food, the FDA, we got the food chart and stuff like that. And just like you were saying, sugar, he goes and explains why sugar is the issue. The sugar is the devil. It's like the science that they do with the sugar by isolating it, taking away all the stuff. It is detrimental. And he said America became obese at this point, but so that the government can cheat inflation numbers to make the CPI number look lower by making the cost of food cheaper. And it's funny because I just saw the other day, I think it's Nissan, a Japanese company that makes ramen noodles. I don't know if you guys, y'all know ramen noodles. Everybody eat ramen noodles, right? But it was saying how they're celebrating some years of them making ramen, and they were saying Japan was facing a famine, and the government had a task of feeding all these people. And so this company created the ramen noodles because again they need to figure out a way to feed millions or billions of people at the lowest cost. And so this is what the government does when the government is involved in food. So that's why we don't need government in food. But then they incentivize companies to try to figure it out because they still need the market to make the stuff. The government can't make food. I told you, the government can produce money. They can produce currency out of thin air, but they can't make goods and services. And so they incentivize certain companies to come up with something. This company came up with the ramen noodles to be able to feed millions of people for 20 cents a pack. And they were celebrating that. And I was just thinking about I heard somebody talking about ramen noodles not being healthy, right? And they'll do anything to feed people for cheap to understate inflation itself. And we know that in Japan themselves, they've been in this inflation situation for quite some time. Stagflation it is, where they can't grow. They just print money and people are just living, but their system can't grow. That's why they invest a lot of money in America, actually, so that their money can grow because their system is in a stagflation system. And America is headed towards the same way. We don't want to go down the path of Japan, but it seems that we're going to try to do so with this quantitative easing stuff. This is what Japan has been doing. But, we're upholding Japan's economy anyway because they take their money that they have and invest it in America. And this is what I was telling you about. A lot of people in my space are getting money from the Japanese to start these portfolios on Wall Street and stuff like that because the Japanese need a place to put their money and they can't grow. Their system can't grow. So they invested in America because America's been pumping out. And so all of this stuff is just detrimental. But anyway, the book is called The Fiat Standard, Charmaine, by Dr. Safedin Ammous.
You got that book? Do you have that book? You have that book available?
I don't have the physical book. I have the audio book for it. And I need to go ahead and order the physical because it's actually really good.
Yeah. When you mentioned about ramen noodles, I
mean, it's a college diet, right? Like it's a college diet.
In the 80s when I was in prison, I thought it was prison food until I saw it in grocery stores out here. I really thought that was just for prisoners, and then realized there was free people freely eating ramen noodles in packs. I was like, wow, right? So, yeah, blow my mind.
To make the cost of make the inflation go down. If we just got CPI data this week, inflation is really high. It clocked in at 7.1. But it's all these different indexes, and you can go to the Bureau of Labor Statistics to see the CPI release, and you can see every part of your life. Every part of your life ain't one index, first of all. So the CPI, it's just faulty indication, but that's what the government uses. They take like your food, your shelter, all these different things and measure them and give it one number. But the food part of it is at 10.2% for food. Food at home, they have food at home and food away from home, which means that people going out to eat at restaurants. So food at home is over 13%. The inflation in your food over 13% year over year. And so this is what I'm saying, like, your pay isn't increasing 13% year over year. So therefore, you're at a net negative. Your purchasing power of your money can't afford as much as it used to. So that's why I'm saying, and this is the problem with the government, because the government does not want deflation at all. They are an inflationary system, and so they will only inflate. Okay, so when you say I want the government to fix this or do something, their solution is to inflate. And that's going to have other problems. Again, right now they're going to have to sacrifice the dollar, and that's what this all is going to come down to. And I think with the whole lockdowns and stuff like that, I told you this guy right here, how you going to drop a book and release it in stores like 4 months after the whole pandemic came out? It was already written, and these guys, they know this, and I think it was all part of the plan to lock the economy down so they can usher in a new world, because they know that the dollar days are numbered. The dollar is going to have to, collapse, and they're going to have to create a new system. And this was this whole digital money stuff they're talking about. MIT is creating this central banking digital currency that works like cryptocurrency, but it's the government to control. And the problem with that is that the government will have access to all of your transactions, everything that you do, everywhere you go. They will have complete control. And just like China, we see in China now, they have a social score system. If you do something, you post something on social media that they don't like, you can't ride a public transportation. And you need public transportation over there. You can't ride a bus. They will suspend you. They will lock you down in your home. They have people locked down in their homes in China where the government's bringing them food. And the people are shouting and crying, saying that the food that by the time the government gets to them, the food is expired. We don't want to live in a world like that. You feel me? This is America. Yeah. This is if freedom dies here, ain't no place that you can escape to. I promise you ain't gonna be able to escape to go nowhere else. So it's a must that we fight to keep the government out of our lives,
Absolutely.
Health Daddy want to say something. Tell him to take it off of mute.
Go ahead, Frank.
Let me ask a question real quick. See if this makes sense. I know gold and silver is important, right? But if the dollar's falling, if the dollar's like, it's on its way out of here, you don't tell in 6 months, why would I take that fiat currency if I have plenty of gold, plenty of silver? Why would I take that stuff? Why would I take that stuff from my gold and silver? Knowing gold and silver is the future, and I got to take it. I take the L's off the earth, so people say, because I'm getting ready to run out a battery on here. But if I had gold and silver, the last thing I would take for it is this money that's getting ready to go extinct, as they say. So can you answer the question for me? I'm gonna take it over.
So why would someone exchange their gold and silver for
the dollar? So the gold and silver that people are storing, gold and silver is a storehold of value. So it's savings. You're going to store the money. You say, why would somebody accept dollars? Is because they don't want to save. They want to use the money to buy something else, right? And because we exchange in dollar, so the dollar still has some type of value because it has an exchange value, which is objective. It's still acceptable. When we take a look at certain things like what Russia we're doing right now with this whole war situation. None of this stuff is new. We did the same thing with Japan, and that's what got us into World War II with Pearl Harbor. When they attacked us, we launched sanctions and all these things on Japan, and we crushed their economy because we tried to protect China because we wanted China to be our manufacturing hub to produce things for cheap so that we can, again, understate inflation. So we crushed Japan. Japan forced them to bomb Pearl Harbor. We're doing the same thing with Russia and the Ukraine situation, but Russia is smart enough that they're circumventing this system, and they're working with China and Iran and all these other countries to create a new financial system, and they're exchanging oil for gold. They're doing trade in gold now, and so I think that gold is the future. In Ray Dalio's book, he talks about how looking over 500 years of financial crisis, he says there's three types of money. And type one money is hard money. You start off with gold. Type two money, they go into a paper, like a paper currency. So you go from hardback money to a paper money. And then type three money, you go into fiat standard, basically, where you're not backed by anything. It's more of a credit system. And that system collapses and then it goes back to hard money. So it always goes into these three cycles, a type one, type two, and type three: hard money, fiat money, credit, and then it goes back. And it cycles over and over 500 years. And so I think that for those crypto enthusiasts out there, I think that there's a world for cryptocurrency if it's backed by gold, if it's backed by hard asset. But right now, to answer your question, the people they're accepting the money is because, again, people don't want money. First of all, you want what money can buy. So they're looking to buy something with the money. That business, that company, whoever is accepting the gold, they're looking to purchase something with that money. That's why they're accepting it.
Because unfortunately, you can't walk into the store, give them this gold, and be like, "Yeah, give me all of that," right?
Right. Yeah, the goal is to preserve your wealth. It's to save because it keeps its wealth. It's a storehold of value.
Absolutely. Folks, man, this has been an amazing show, an amazing conversation. I want to remind you real quick that, again, we do this all on our own. So if you ever get a chance to, then go ahead and, if you're on Cash App, hey, $ the TPMS, right? The Tipping Point Morning Show, $ the TPMS. Just go ahead. Hey, drop 50 cents. We appreciate it. If I can get 100 people to drop 50 cents, then that $50 will work to pay for different platforms and things that we have that help make this work. So appreciate y'all. Appreciate everybody who is supporting us. I mean, man, we got doctors, we got business owners, we got all type of people that are sitting here watching this show. And a lot of them that I know from all different parts of the country and a few outside the country. So that's pretty dope. And with that being said, I want to remind everybody one more thing is that we are Thinking Substance, and Thinking Substance always takes the form of what it thinks about. So, absolutely. In predominance, I think you were muted there, John. But in predominance of whatever you think about most, that is what you will become. So just think about that in and of itself. So next week, brothers, it's been fantastic. Appreciate you as always.
Peace.
All right. Peace. We are out of here as we close out.
You are listening to The Tipping Point Show with your host, Mr. Just Ask Joe, John Yeah. You ready? Streaming live all over social media and on your favorite music and podcast streaming platforms.
Yeah, you know what it is.
Also, check out thetippingpointshow.com. The Tipping Point Show.
I don't even know what's going on. Oh my god. Oh my god. Are you guys kidding me?